Sekeres and Price for Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the Historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sekeres alongside Irfaan Gaffar, who's sitting in for Blake Price today. Mike Rogerson hitting switches, conducting things. Happy holidays, happy New Year. How you doing?
Happy holidays and happy New Year to you too, my friend. I'm great. Yeah, good. Real relaxing time. Watched some Christmas Day football, drinks, food, be merry, all that good stuff. You?
Yeah, ditto.
Yep, good.
Ditto. Love this time of year. Love sitting at home on a weekday afternoon watching sports.
I did
yesterday. I was wrapped up in the World Juniors, and I'll watch a bunch of the football here this weekend, as well as, of course, your Vancouver Canucks, who, well, they have a game tonight. There's a coach in town, you may have heard, and that brings us to our daily poll question, asking you, if you were in Rick Tocchet's skates, would you have left? You can vote yes, you can vote no. Do so at the Sekeres and Price X and YouTube channels. Mr. Gaffar, what says you?
Let me lay it out this way. I have a hunch that the relationship between the head coach and its captain, its former captain and star defenseman, was fairly good. I have another hunch that the coach knew that the captain wasn't going to sign long-term and commit long-term. And then there was a lack of direction as to what this team was going to be moving forward. And then, yeah, there was a $25 million offer from the Philadelphia Flyers, a place where you are regarded as one of the best, the very best in the Flyers Hall of Fame there in Philly. So I'm taking that twice on Sundays.
Put it this way. If you had options, would you work for Aquilini?
I think that there was a lot that went into the decision. I think that going back to direction of the team and things like that, and obviously it really comes down to money at the end of it. I mean, Rick Tocchet, thought he knew what his worth was, and he went and got it from somewhere. Someone was willing to give him that. You look at players in the NHL, where it happens all the time. If someone is willing to give you that much money, you may not deserve it, but if someone's giving it to you, I'm taking it.
Look, there are all sorts of things that I'm sure went into Rick Tocchet's decision to leave the Vancouver Canucks and join the Philadelphia Flyers. First of all, he was out of contract, so it dovetailed nicely.
Yep.
Secondly, I think he knew full well it was going to be very difficult to pull another magic trick like they did a couple of years ago and race to the Pacific Division Championship and get past those Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs. Thirdly, yes, I think you're absolutely right that he understood that Quinn Hughes needed to see more winning here, need to see a more functional organization that had a chance at cup contention, and of course that has not come. I think Rick Tocchet was a JT Miller over Elias Pettersson guy, and I think that also factored into the decision, plus just the way the Canucks go about running their organization, including with the owner. You know, he wants to be buddy-buddy with the players and coaches, add to that Yaletown credibility. So, look, the Rick Tocchet is, for the moment, getting the last laugh here with where those Philadelphia Flyers are positioned and where the Vancouver Canucks are positioned. We're going to hear from the head coach here in a moment. I also understand how Vancouver Canucks fans, and I got a reply here in my mentions on X this morning that I will get into. Nav, he says, he still quit. Never seen a coach quit after one bad year. His slogan was embrace the hard. Too bad he didn't follow it. I'm not saying he was a bad coach. He was good, and I get why media loved him because he was great in interviews, but the truth is the truth. He is a quitter. And I can agree with all of that. And I still don't blame him.
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that he was a good interview. And praised Rick for the way he discussed the game with us for 2.5 years. We all learned a lot about hockey, I think, in listening to Coach Tocchet over this time. Loved the fact that he was able to dispense with some of the attitude, gruffness, and other coaches demonstrate, like, how dare you question me, and have the full-on conversation. I think that was tremendous of Tocchet over his 2.5 years here. And 2 years ago when he won the Jack Adams, I've said it many times, been in this game 25 years now, one of the single greatest coaching performances that I have seen 2 years ago out of Rick Tocchet. Wasn't the same performance last year, and I can understand why he started looking at Philadelphia as a greener pasture. So go ahead.
No, I just will say this on him leaving to the Philadelphia Flyers. You go and look at it and where we are now in the season, obviously things have gone the way they have for the Vancouver Canucks. The Philadelphia Flyers are 11th place in the league. 45 points in the NHL standings. The Vancouver Canucks, 10 points behind at 35.
And, rewind a year, Irf, there were a lot of people who were already forecasting, okay, Tocchet's out of contract at the end of the year. Shouldn't the Canucks be trying to extend him here? He's coming off the Jack Adams. And a lot of people were looking at the Philadelphia Flyers and casting aspersions and saying that's not a team that's better positioned than the Vancouver Canucks. They're not exactly teaming with young centermen or anything like that. They've had a goaltender issue forever, seemingly, in Philadelphia. And look, a lot of that is true. Now, some also cast aspersions on the city. Where would you prefer to live, Vancouver, Philadelphia? And I get that as well. But again, as you note, he was one of the all-time great Flyers. He's lived in that community many, many years of his life and obviously has a greater attachment to it than most of us. But you take a look at where they're at now, Irf, with a team that has still got some young players who are growing up, still aren't exactly great down the middle.
Nope.
Not exactly a Vezina trophy-winning goaltender. And we will see Dan Vladar. It's another backup game against the Vancouver Canucks tonight. And yet you look at where they're positioned, and Rick Tocchet is doing a pretty darn good coaching job again this year.
Yeah, don't have a stud superstar defenseman on that back end. Trevor Zegras
York's pretty good, but he's not Quinn Hughes.
No, he's not Quinn Hughes.
Zegras has found new life here in his career.
Michkov, there's always that notion that, maybe the Russian players and Rick Tocchet didn't really see eye to eye. You see Kuzmenko, Mikheyev, some of those guys didn't really play well under Rick Tocchet's tutelage. And Michkov and Niven probably have some battles back and forth, but kid's a pretty good player. He's going to be a pretty good player for the Philadelphia Flyers. So things are pretty good for him right now, I'd have to say.
Yep. Let's get into our top story. It's brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Canucks seek second straight win as former coach Rick Tocchet returns with his Philadelphia Flyers. As mentioned, he won the Jack Adams Coach of the Year just 2 seasons ago, but feels like 2 millennia, huh?
It's a long time ago.
His Flyers are 19-11-7, holding down a playoff spot in the Metropolitan Division. They practiced yesterday here in Vancouver, got in early, and he was asked what kind of reaction he expects from the Canucks faithful tonight. Here's Tocchet.
I don't know. Honestly, don't know. It is what it is. I'll have my business mode in anyways. So I've played 18 years in the league. I've been booed a lot of places. So it's all right.
I have felt now for, several months that Rick is a little bit caught between several different compulsions, instincts, temptations. Number one, we know that he hates the term quitter. John Shannon had told us in the summer when he had Rick on his podcast, you tell everyone in Vancouver I didn't quit on them. Mm-hmm. So I think he's very sensitive to that sort of criticism, as you can expect from a rough and tumble, power forward fighting winger in his day. I think he's also a little bit tempted to want to spike the football here and say, see, what did I tell you? But also he's caught a little bit between, I think, the sympathy and the plight of his old friend and former assistant Adam Foote, who, of course, is now the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. And sure enough, he was asked about the Canucks being they were 32nd and last yesterday when this discussion took place. Then they get the win against Seattle, vault all the way to 30th. But I think he was asked about the Canucks being right at the bottom of the standings, and he had this to say. Again, here's Tocchet.
Yeah, I mean, even myself, like last year, what it coulda, what happened. I play that in my mind, but back, last year I was playing that in mind, not so much now. But listen, tough breaks. I mean, I know people don't want to hear it. I mean, the injuries are incredible. There's been a couple things that have hit the team. Yeah, it's tough, and you hate to see it because I think Footy's a great coach. I love working. Fred Cheska was great to me, Patrick and Jim. So it's hard for me. Yeah, I do feel sorry for the fans. This is the last thing you want to see. And but I think they have a plan, and they're going to go in the right direction. Obviously get some young players in, and I think they're going to stick to a plan. I think. I don't know.
And I think that was part of it as well. Right? That, Tocchet looked at this and said, okay, what's the plan here? Is the plan going to change? And is the plan forever going to be try and find enough chicken wire and duct tape to manufacture yourself a Stanley Cup contender as opposed to build it the proper way? I'm not sure he would have had the patience for a rebuild. Like if the Canucks at the end of last year said, okay, that's it, we're rebuilding, I'm not sure that would have included Rick Tocchet, but I think he also knew the pitfalls and the foibles of trying to do it the way the Canucks have been trying to do it, Irf, for the last 12 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there needed to be more from management. I think the direction and lack of plan, and we're obviously seeing it, is definitely taking place right now. Your lack of center depth, obviously injuries have killed you. And then the biggest one is you trade JT Miller because you had to, and then you trade Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
And I think when you go and just look at those two things right there, that's enough for a guy. I mean, Rick Tocchet left before they traded Quinn Hughes, but if he knew he wasn't going to be here, why would you stay? Of course he knew.
I think he did. And the other thing, and we talked about this a lot last year as the season was winding down too, is shelf life.
Yep.
Shelf life matters too, right? Like Rick Tocchet was a former head coach of a dysfunctional Tampa organization, the former head coach of a dysfunctional Arizona Coyotes organization, and had been the head coach of, let's face it, at the very least, a dysfunctional Canucks dressing room. If he sticks around here, and especially if you're going through some degree of rebuild, retool, or if you're just not very good, even if you're trying to be, then your shelf life is only so long here, right? Whereas in Philadelphia, it's a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting 2 to 3 years at minimum, right? Whereas if you come back for this season and you're having the sort of year that they're having, how much longer could you truly anticipate that you're going to be the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks? You'd be into your 4th season trying to get to back to where you were two years ago. So I get all of that.
And I also just think that, like you mentioned, the 3-year automatic basically right in when you get that job. Job security is one. Mm-hmm. And you look at Philadelphia, right? Like the Eagles are good. They just won the Super Bowl, go another run. You can kind of hide a little bit in that in the shadows of sports teams there. Whereas here, you're top dog.
Yeah, Phillies are a World Series contender year after year. If only Embiid got healthy, maybe the 76ers would be as well. And he was talking about just that, about Vancouver as a hockey market yesterday. And I actually think he has some very wise counsel here for players and coaches who run through this town. Again, here's Tocchet.
The one great thing is 24/7 is hockey. That's a good thing. And we get when I was here, a lot of coverage. Some places they don't get much coverage, right? So I never complained about that. That was something that you embrace, where you're the only show, pretty well the only show in town, or the top show in town. And I think when you embrace it, and it's a fun place to coach or play. If you let the noise get to you, it's like anywhere. New York, if you let it, it can affect certain players. But I think if you can somehow block it out, it's a great place to play.
He's absolutely right, Irf. Embrace it.
Absolutely embrace it.
Like, I was thinking about the world of soccer, right? I was watching some soccer over the break. And look, I don't doubt that you can carve out a wonderful life playing for a down table team in one of the Big Five European leagues where, okay, you've got some local coverage, but you're not the biggest deal, right?
Well,
as opposed to, what you can experience in your life and time if you're playing for an Arsenal, a Manchester, one of the absolute tip-tops where the game and the team matters so much. And yeah, he's absolutely right. You've got to be able to block out the noise, and you've got to be able to embrace the positives of a hyper-intense hockey market like this. We've said it many, many times. If you're amongst the first group of Vancouver Canucks to deliver a Stanley Cup to this city, I mean, they'll build statues of you. You won't pay for a drink the rest of your life in the province of British Columbia. Easier said than done. You noted as we listened to that clip the first time, well, he was a little bit critical of the coverage from time to time. And yeah, fair enough. But I mean, I give coaches mulligans. For the most part, I thought he was infinitely patient with the coverage in this town and the sorts of day-to-day questions that he was being asked.
And he was also
Fair?
100%. And he talked every day.
Every single day.
Every single day. This one, you don't really see Adam Foote talk every single day. Obviously, lets the assistants do a little bit of that. I've heard other coaches around the National Hockey League do like that as well, letting the assistants do a little bit of the talking as well. But I think for Rick
assistant
Tocchet,
talk yesterday after the Jake DeBrusk scratching, which we'll get into. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I just think that for Rick Tocchet, I think the decision for him to go do what he did, obviously thought all about it, family, everything, was the right decision for him. And I think that if this team was off to the start that it had, no matter who the coach was, and they were going to trade Quinn Hughes, it wouldn't make a difference if it was Rick or Adam Foote or anybody.
Yep.
Like Rick can't save this team as a head coach.
No.
Currently as constructed. It goes beyond that.
No. There would be very few coaches. Like Scotty Bowman in his best year. When you take a look at the Canucks center depth chart earlier this season, who they were playing, who they were trying to get by with, wasn't going to win a lot of hockey games. Well, Canucks did win a hockey game last night, 3-2, a shootout win in Seattle against their geographic rivals as the young Swedish wingers shine again, Irf. And this minus Jake DeBrusk. Linus Karlsson scores his second in as many games. He's got 4 goals in his last 4 games. Liam Öhgren assists on the Karlsson goal. He nets his second shootout winner in just 7 games as a Canuck. He's got 4 points in the early going here since being a part of the Minnesota Wild package to land Quinn Hughes. Kevin Lankinen, once again, perfect in the shootout, now 17 for 17 on the season, and he was one of many Canucks who was crediting Connor Garland and that first period fight against ex-Canuck Jared McCann with revving the team up. Here's Lankinen.
Yeah, obviously really happy with the win. Happy for Liam to get the game-winning goal. But all in all, for the team, we battled hard, and I gotta give credit to Connor Garland. He kind of put the fire in our belly and woke the team up and stood up for his teammates, stood up for himself. Showed some great character. So I gotta give him a big shout out.
More often than not, Irf, I have not put a lot of stock into the fight and the players post game crediting the guy who fought with somehow shooting a charge to the bench and leading to victory. I was particularly critical of that line of thinking back in the days when you had fighters, right? Because that was their only role. That was their job, and oftentimes to me it was simply a sideshow. But I do believe there are times when a player out there on the ice musters up, shows some courage, shows some bravery, some emotion, and some passion. And for 2 guys who were closer to featherweights than heavyweights, holy cow, was that a spirited fight last night. And I can completely believe Lankinen, and I saw Olivia McDonald tweet that virtually every player she talked to last night was talking about the Garland fight as putting an extra pep in their step.
Well, the reaction of the bench was ecstatic.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it all stemmed from the Garland elbow to the face of McCann. McCann goes to the bench and looks at Garland and says, I'm coming no matter what. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do this. And credit to Connor Garland for going and doing that. And Jeff had a stat on Rinkwide last night where Connor Garland is the only Vancouver forward with a fight this season.
He's got 2.
He's got 2, and he's got 2 of them. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And yeah, he's not afraid of anybody. And I think that that's one of the things that people find themselves liking about Connor Garland is because he's not afraid. He plays with the heart. He plays a lot bigger than he is. And he held his own, and he threw some bombs in that scrap.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, and you could see the two linesmen were like, okay, we're going to move in. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
And then they were going to move in again. And, whoa, maybe not.
Then he jump uppercutted at the end. It was great.
It's like the linesmen didn't expect those sorts of haymakers from those two guys. But sure enough, there it was. I do wonder if that was Evander Kane, if McCann would have been as intent on getting a fight later in the game.
You're probably right about that.
I think he was probably picking on the 5'8" guy. But anyways, full value. Connor Garland and Jared McCann on a fight. And look, even critics of fighting in the NHL said way back when, I put myself and Blake in that camp. I've got very little problem with the I hate your face, you hate my face. There's been a transgression in the flow of the game, heated moment, let's have a fight.
Yeah.
To me, it was the staged fights with the quote-unquote enforcers that just became such a blight on the game. But those sorts of fights, and of course everybody points to the Iginla-Le Cavalier fight, right? Once upon a time in the Stanley Cup final. Those sorts of fights in the game, you understand them. And last night, the Vancouver Canucks were understanding that Connor Garland shot some enthusiasm through their bench, ultimately led to a victory. Jake DeBrusk, got to talk about him now.
Yes, we do.
Healthy scratch for the first time as a Vancouver Canuck, the first time since October 2023, when he was a member of the Boston Bruins. And great accountability here. He owns it completely after just one goal in his last 16 games and just one even strength goal all season. You can see some of the words he had to say. We're going to play a clip here in a second, but first just answer me this. Were you surprised that Coach Foote went to the healthy scratching of DeBrusk last night?
No, and he could have gone any direction of a forward that he picked, and we'll get into this after we hear the clip of Jake DeBrusk. But 9 goals this season, 8 of them on the power play, hasn't really done anything, 5-on-5, and just looks out of sorts. And obviously the benching is for a reset, and like Jake mentioned, or you're going to hear him mention what he thought that he needs to do here. But I wasn't surprised. I think that we've been looking at it and saying, when is it going to happen and who's it going to happen to? I do also think that this was the easy one to pick of the players that were available to be healthy scratch. I think DeBrusk was the easy one because of what you're about to hear and the accountability from him.
Yeah, he calls it a surprise, a shock, embarrassing. He talked about how this was one of the most frustrating seasons of his career, and we also talked about having to go back to basics and details and hope for one of his trademark hot streaks. But here was his instant reaction to getting scratched.
But I understand why. I mean, it's pretty black and white, but it's always a surprise. It's always a shock, but I think that's just the nature of the beast. I think every time someone gets scratched, it's a shock. But I kind of understood, the reasons why. And I think that in itself makes you look in the mirror. And now, like I said earlier, it's just about playing my game on the back. Thanks.
Yeah, it's the 17 points in 37 games that's tied for 7th on the Vancouver Canucks. He's averaging 17 minutes and 40 seconds per game of ice time. So not typically a profile of player that gets scratched, even if the point totals and goal totals at even strength aren't anywhere near what you hope they would be. And look, there was no morning skate for the Vancouver Canucks today because the game in Seattle last night. Adam Foote is holding a media availability later this afternoon. We both anticipate that Jake will be right back in the lineup here tonight.
I would be very surprised if he's not in the lineup tonight. I think for a veteran guy like him, been in the NHL for quite some time, signed a long-term contract, gets his one-game little reset, retool, change your mind, look in the mirror, do whatever you need to do, but come back and be excited to play the game tonight.
Couple of things here, and again, this is something that Blake and I have had a long discussion on this show. I give a coach the healthy scratch card once with any player he so chooses. Send a message, reset, whatever you want to call it. When you start scratching a player more than once, the question has to be asked, okay, is he worse than what you're addressing? And I'm not sure you can say DeBrusk is worse than what they're addressing, albeit at close to full health here, the Vancouver Canucks forward ranks, there's a little bit more internal competition for ice time and for a spot in the lineup than what we had seen previously this season or in previous seasons. But when you're on the second of a back-to-back, like if you had all 4 forward lines dialed in, all 3 defense pairs dialed in, played a hell of a game and got a win against Seattle last night, I could understand the axiom of, not changing a winning lineup. But you didn't. The Kraken were the better team. You escaped with a couple of points. So to dress the same lineup simply because you won in a shootout, to me, that's not good process. That's just indulging your superstitions as a head coach, the whole winning lineup thing, which I think is a little bit outdated. So I anticipate that DeBrusk will be back in there this evening. And if not, I think you've got a question with regards to, okay, do they regret signing him a year ago, July 1st? Is there any kind of buyer's remorse? Or are they trying to encourage DeBrusk to waive his trade protection? And I do find myself wondering the same thing about the longest tenured Vancouver Canuck, Brock Boeser. You were going to say on DeBrusk?
Well, he led the team in goals last year with 29.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because fans are now wondering, is Brock Boeser next? Now 13 games without a goal. First year of a 7-year deal and already looks to be declining. Now we've seen this before from Brock and he's bounced back. But is there any world where you could see them sitting number 6?
I think so. I mean, if you're going to sit Jake DeBrusk, he's got 9 goals. 8 of them have come on the power play. Brock's got 9 goals. 2 of them have come on the power play. So, and
Brock is penalty killing now.
Yeah, and
he plays 19:08 a night, so he's playing a full minute and a half more than DeBrusk.
I think you do. I think that, like I said, the DeBrusk one was easier than the Brock one to go and make because of DeBrusk, the person, and what kind of the reaction would be is if you scratch Brock Boeser. But if Brock goes another 3 or 4 games without a goal here,
oh gosh,
or 2 even, like he has to score. If not tonight, it's got to be on Friday or Saturday. Brock Boeser needs to put the puck in the back of the net. That is what he is paid very well to do, and he knows that. And I think the writing is on the wall a little bit. When it comes to Adam Foote scratching a veteran player, that he is not afraid to do it. And these guys know, like they're not stupid. They know who's next. And Brock has to be feeling that.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while for Foote to get there. He has done his utmost to try and shelter and not criticize players publicly. I can get that as a first-time rookie NHL head coach. You don't want to get on the wrong side of the room, and especially in a market like this, you want to build them up as much as possible, but it gets to a point where it's plainly obvious to everybody in the market, this is a smart hockey populace here in British Columbia. You can't fool them. Alain Vigneault learned that. Rick Tocchet learned that. Those who don't learn that don't find themselves coaching the Vancouver Canucks all that much longer. One of 5 players Boeser is on the Canucks, sitting on 9 goals. That's tied for second behind Sherwood's 16. It's Elias Pettersson, Brock Boeser, Jake DeBrusk, now Linus Karlsson, and Drew O'Connor, all with 9 goals. And Max Sassone just one back with 8. Is there any, we know the attachment that Brock has to this market, the only franchise he has ever played for, and of course, was nearly on his way out of town on July 1st before the Canucks came calling back and he signed that 7-year deal. Do you think there's any world where Brock doesn't want to be a part of this going forward and is willing to uproot his life so quickly after re-signing that long-term deal with trade protection?
No, I don't. And I think the only way that it isn't or it moves or Brock becomes available is if Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin go to him and say that you aren't part of this plan that we have, and say that we have something in the works and we're looking at doing this and you're just not going to be a part of what we want to do here in Vancouver. I think that that's the only way that something like that would have to happen. Other than that, guy has a no move. I mean, he signed that contract for a reason and the Canucks gave it to him. And he has
got a
all
new
the
house here.
Yeah.
He's got his girl here, right?
all the right in the world to-
dog here. So I would be surprised. I think you're right. I think it would have to be the organization going to him and saying, and let's face it, when last we heard from management, they were going to retool it a little bit in a hybrid form. Canucks 4-11-1 at Rogers Arena this season. As Adam Kirsenblatt of the Hockey News notes, 4 wins in their first 16 home games. That is tied for the lowest in franchise history through the first 16 home games of the year. The other seasons where they did that, 76-77, 84-85, 86-87, and 95-96. The Canucks have 2 8-game homestands remaining this year, Irf. And you wonder if that is maybe delaying a Kiefer Sherwood or any kind of more moving, more on that, and dealing, and more on that in a second. Got to be able to sell those home games. And it brings us to our super chat here today on YouTube, where Scott Wonder has asked us, hey, fellas, I was just thinking over the holidays how far the Canucks dropped as a franchise. I can't even give free tickets away anymore and have no desire to go to the games. It's sad, and thank you for that, Scott. And you see that donation there of $13.99 and half proceeds to the BC Mental Health Foundation on all our super chats. That button is available to you whenever you want. Hit it, ask your question. We'll work it into the show. Yeah, I hear what he's saying. Some of these games are going to be a very tough sell. Now, usually in the holidays, you have people who are off routines that are different, tickets under the tree, that sort of thing. Like, I have friends who've got 5, 6, 7-year-olds, right? And they don't know the difference. They just know they're going out to watch hockey and have that wonderment and amazement of all the sensory overload at a hockey game, right? The sights, the sounds, the smells, and all of that. But once you get through this game tonight, and get into January. Canucks are home this weekend. They got a back-to-back Friday versus Seattle and Saturday versus Boston. But once you clear those, Irf, then you're on another Eastern road trip. It's a 6-game trip. And then you're not back home till January 17th against the Edmonton Oilers to begin one of these aforementioned 8-game homestands. Now, you would like to think that Connor McDavid is a draw. And on a Saturday night, you can sell the Oilers game. Bo Horvat comes to town 2 days later with the New York Islanders and first overall pick Matthew Shaver, Alex Ovechkin, and probably his final visit to Vancouver. I mean, if not no more than a couple. And then the 23rd, which is New Jersey, which at one time would have been a Hughes Bowl, but not so much anymore. Then Pittsburgh, Sydney. So you've got some draws coming to town, including the Leafs on the 31st of January. But, yeah, I do wonder about some of these midweek games going forward and what those crowds are going to look like and what the resale market is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The draw now to go to a Vancouver Canucks home game is not the Vancouver Canucks at home. It is who is coming to visit, like you just mentioned, the Ovies of the world, the Jack Hughes of the world, the Connor McDavids of the world, all of those other players. And it's tough to see. And the Vancouver Canucks just, if their home record sucked and they played an entertaining brand of hockey, like it was a shootout each night and they were going at it and there was stuff happening and going on, okay, you could sell it because you knew you were going to be entertained. You don't know what you're going to get from this team on home ice right now.
And I think that's how you have to approach it going forward, particularly if you make further deals to trade veterans out, is, hey, come watch Young and Hungry. Mm-hmm. The Linus Karlssons, the Atu Ratus, the Liam Öhgrens, Max Sasson, like guys who are giving you a full effort and guys who look to be the future of the Vancouver Canucks. You have to be able, Zeev William, you have to be able to sell that going forward alongside the opponents for, let's face it, the remainder of this year, because you're not in a playoff position or close to a playoff position, and you need to go on a hell of a winning streak to even entertain that notion. Now, with season ticket holders, I have long felt that if you give them the possibility of victory, if there's a fighting chance they can win the game, then that is an event enough for them to want to continue going to games. With casuals, you might be in a little bit more trouble in terms of them just tuning you out because of your record. The interesting test for me will be if, in fact, they do strip it down more. Do you have people who have screamed rebuild who are still interested in going to Vancouver Canucks game or would go to Vancouver Canucks games because they see a change in organizational philosophy that they want to get behind and support, basically put their money where their mouth is. Now, this is the second home game since the Quinn Hughes trade. They played, of course, Saturday against the San Jose Sharks, and many of you may well have been, distracted by all the Christmas comings and goings. There you go. There's a novel way, right, to get rid of your Quinn Hughes jersey. You just X out the 4 and you put the X across the back. Is for those of you on visual platforms, and for those of you who may have got a number 43 Hughes jersey under the tree last week. I was a little bit struck by Elias Pettersson's nonplussed answer about life after Quinn. He had some token words about the new guys. He said, quote, "It's been good. Obviously a lot of changes, but the new guys look good." And then he was asked to follow up about his time with Quinn. And he said, "Oh, yeah, good friend. We go back a long ways, going to miss him." Gosh, I just want to... No more JT Miller. No more Quinn Hughes. I think Canucks fans are just dying to see some sort of passion from Elias. Some sort of investment in the crest, investment in the franchise and in the market. Because I think fans right now are caught between wanting the young players to do well, but not to win too much to sink the Canucks draft stock. And, of course, they enter play tonight 30th after that victory. But I think they need to see a frontline player show passion, show care, show that they have an emotional response to everything that has gone on.
I don't think there is going to be one ever publicly from this guy in Elias Pettersson. I just don't think he is wired that way. I mean, he lets his play on the ice, whether you like it, whether you hate it, do his talking. He blocks a lot of shots. He cares in that sense. Yep. He puts his body on the line and does those types of things. You're never going to get him in front of a microphone popping off in the media or calling out his teammates or doing anything except criticizing his own game. And he's held himself very accountable throughout his years here about how he needs to play better. But as far as a leader when it comes to that and in an overall sense, I just don't think that is him. And that's not his fault. And I don't think fans can be mad at him for that. But the effort, night in and night out, if he goes there and shows that he cares on the ice every single game, then it's a little bit different. I think the off-the-ice stuff...
And we've seen more of that this year than last year, right? Like last year, you just wondered if he had a pulse. Yeah. This year, you do see him involved and invested in the game more so than he was last year. This injury that took so long, is that the wrist again?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I think there was something that was definitely bothering him.
Because that's the other thing. I know NHL players are loath to disclose injuries, but if there is something that is bothering Elias and his play dips here in the second half and he's not in the fight, like that's something teammates may hate it. Hockey old culture and old hockey men may hate it. But I really think he's probably better off with the fans if he details what's wrong with him.
Yeah, and go get surgery if you need it.
Exactly.
Because your season's a wash anyways.
Exactly. It will only help the tank.
I just thought it was interesting that when he got hurt, took warm-up the next day and then didn't play.
That's it.
And then missed the entire road trip after that.
Yeah. We got another... It's not a super chat, but Guy wants to say our season ticket group has let the organization know that we are canceling until there is a rebuild. And we may be at that point where people who have just reflexively renewed their Canucks season tickets year after year because they enjoy going to hockey games or they want to see the stars that are coming through town, the opposition, or they have a kid who doesn't know any better between a winning team and a losing team and just loves the wonderment of the arena. I do wonder, or they just simply have stupid money, and there's a lot of people in this community with stupid money and are looking for places to spend it. I do wonder, though, if even those constituencies are fed up now, have had enough, and say, okay, I've supported this for the better part of a decade with no forward progress. It is time. The only option is rebuild. And when you look at the Stanley Cup champions in this century, outside of one that got the most favorable stocking expansion draft in the history of professional sports, every single one of them has had to sink to the bottom and collect some top 5 picks and go through some pain, misery, and suffering of losing seasons before getting to the NHL mountaintop. Neighborhood Brewing has released Amigos Black Dark Lager, the darker side of good times. This dark lager brings a touch more attitude with rich malt depth and just the perfect amount of smoothness to keep things easy drinking. Same spirit, new vibe, a beer for friends, made by friends. It is the Amigos Black Dark Lager from Neighborhood Brewing. Canucks go into this game tonight ahead of just Winnipeg and Chicago in the NHL overall standings. And for us, let's get into Crave the Stats, brought to you by Uber Eats. And once again, I want to go back to Kevin Lankinen in the shootout, Irf, because mentioned it earlier, he's 17 for 17 this season. But as Shorty mentioned at the end of the broadcast last night, his lifetime save percentage in the shootout is now an NHL all-time best of .889. Irf, it's better than his regular save percentage during this season, which is now up to .885. It's also 0.35 points better than the next best lifetime shootout save percentage. He is the only guy in NHL history who is sniffing a .900 save percentage. Think of that, 9 of 10 breakaways. You stop in the shootout. It's just extraordinary.
And see, number 4, they have 2 of the best ever to do it. Ever.
Somebody texted me earlier this month, do you go with so-and-so for the shootout? I go, the shootout is where you want I'm not changing goaltenders. That's where you want every game to get to.
Well, people want to get into the soccer here where you change the keeper through if we're going to see a shootout.
Exactly.
If it ever came to that, I would laugh.
2 of the best all time.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. And there was a breakaway in that first period as well. Well, the first shot was a breakaway on Kevin Lankinen. And I'm not worried about a guy coming down on a breakaway.
Got that, no.
Exactly.
If you're going to give up grade A's on Lankinen, make it a breakaway.
But that just
you want to seal that cross ice pass. You want to give them breakaways all night long.
I think it just goes to show you the preparation. It just goes to show you the mindset, the one-on-one, the knowing, the studying, the doing whatever you needed to do before the game. And both of them, him and Thatcher Demko, do that at an exceptional level.
And he sounds better these days too.
Yeah.
He sounds like the confidence is coming back a little bit. It's good to see. Crave the Stats, brought to you by Uber Eats, enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. Every time the Canucks are playing at home, like tonight, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver, only on Uber Eats. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins, if you're hosting, all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, after the game. Uber Eats, assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Okay. Reports over, the last week since we've been away, that the Dallas Stars and San Jose Sharks are interested in Kiefer Sherwood. Now, Pierre LeBrun has wondered about the Stars and forward Maverick Bourque. He is a 2020 first-round pick who turns 24 next week. He's a right shot, 5'10", 190-pounder. He has played center. This year he has split his time center and the wing pretty much 50-50 with Dallas, and needless to say, a good forward group. It's harder to crack that lineup and crack that top 6, top 9 than other places. Very good AHL numbers in his career, 144 points in 162 career games. Less so in the NHL, 37 points in 113 games, 5 goals, 12 points in 37 games this season. Dallas is without its first-round pick in 2026. That pick belongs to the Carolina Hurricanes unless it's in the top 10. Do you think that would deter the Canucks in making a Kiefer Sherwood deal with Dallas, or do you think they like the idea of a 24-year-old one-time first-round pick more so than a future first-round pick because of the deal they just made with Minnesota and collecting these guys who are a little they weren't quite the green bananas that a first-round pick is.
And I do think that they want players in return. I think that they want to fill their roster out with younger talent, and that's evident in the messaging that's been said by, both Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin. I'm not sure if a 5'11" Maverick Bourque is a guy that you want on your team. You don't a team that already had some pretty small guys. Another smaller guy that he doesn't score at a crazy rate. AHL numbers, like you mentioned, are excellent. But then when he gets to the NHL, playing against bigger, faster, more physical competition, 39 games this season, just 12 points. And I know the lineup is hard to crack to move up in that Dallas lineup. But I'm just unsure. And you go to a team here where the center ice depth is always in question. And if you're not going to get it from the center, Felias Pettersson, Marco Rossi, Philip Hedl, if and whenever he comes back, and maybe Max Essen aren't guys that are going to be able to distribute the puck. Can you carry a line? Can you carry a second line as Maverick Bourque? I'm just not entirely sure about the player.
I do wonder if they'd be tempted by the idea of, but he'll play further up the lineup here, like we've seen with Liam Öhgren, who is blossoming before our eyes. I do think they would probably like the idea of right shot center, right? We know what kind of premium those guys are at. Now the Vancouver Canucks have very few. I mean, he's also dirt cheap as an RFA with ARB rights coming after the season. Not that he has a great ARB case, so I think he's a pretty easy re-sign. I don't know. Bourque and that 2027 first-round pick. Again, Dallas without a 2026 first-round pick. I wonder if that gets it done. And now San Jose, who has a couple of one-time first-round picks in the AHL right now, and we'll get to them here. Center Philip Bystead, who turns 22 in February, 63 points in 91 career AHL games, so pretty good there. Quentin Musty's a 20-year-old would-be power forward, 22 points in his first 31 AHL games. The Sharks also have 2 first-round picks in the 2026 draft, because they have their own and they have Edmonton's. Now, I'd be very surprised if they put their own pick in play because, I mean, it is very possible that they take a slide down the standings and are giving up a top 10, top 12 pick when it's all said and done. But the Edmonton pick should be later in the round, right, for a team that's got a lot of draft capital, has had draft capital, still has some draft capital. Do you see any kind of fit between Sherwood and the Sharks?
It's tough to say because I think that there's going to be a GM out there that looks at Kiefer Sherwood that is in pure Stanley Cup contention and says, okay, we can give up one of our picks for this guy. He is going to be a third-line difference maker on our team, maybe even first or second with the way that guy can score as well. I'm just not entirely sure the San Jose Sharks are there as that. They're a fun team to watch.
It would be very aggressive from my career in the San Jose Sharks. I was quite surprised to see them involved in Sherwood. You wonder whether this deal would be contingent on an extension for Sherwood if they view a Kiefer Sherwood profile of player as being a necessary ingredient to their young group of forwards.
It would have to be, and you have to think that they like him. They like the way that he plays, sticks up for teammates, does things the right way.
If you're getting Bystead or Musty and a first-round pick, it's got to be with an extension. Yeah. So maybe it's one of those pieces without the extension. We shall see if San Jose is for real or if they're just kicking tires here, feeling a little bit better about themselves because they're right there in playoff position for the first time in a number of years. Then this was really weird. Chris Johnson of The Athletic and TSN reporting, the St. Louis Blues are fielding calls from, quote, high-functioning teams on Jordan Kyrou. And he specifies 3 clubs, the Vancouver Canucks, Ottawa Senators, and New Jersey Devils. Now, in no world do I think of any of those teams as high-functioning, but particularly the Vancouver Canucks. High functioning. It sounds like Doug Armstrong is getting frustrated there in St. Louis, and I suspect after he's done with his Hockey Canada wrap-up duties here this week, maybe he turns his attention back to making deals as GM of the Blues. Of course, he is the chief architect GM of Canada's Olympic team. But why this is scary is if you're a tankist, if you're a rebuildist, you're sitting there wondering, are they going to take that first-round pick they got from Minnesota or some of their younger assets and turn it around to add Jordan Kyrou because we're going to retool on the fly with an expensive player, retool a little bit in a hybrid form as opposed to a full-on rebuild. This for a player, Kyrou, who is a terrific goal scorer, we'll give him that, but has been in several coaches' doghouse isn't exactly a complete player.
5 years left at north of $8 million for this player. I'm not touching that, and I don't think the Vancouver Canucks are either. If you're the Ottawa Senators,
I hope not.
maybe.
Yeah.
The New Jersey Devils couldn't move money out to get Quinn Hughes.
Yeah,
How are they going to
exactly.
move money out to take Jordan Kyrou?
The Senators make a little sense because Brady Tkachuk's not having a great
No.
year. Giroux is getting very old. They need another goal
They need a
scorer,
scorer.
and they've lost their goaltender here, Allmark, who's taken leave, and so they may just have to outscore their problems. We shall see. And then a development in Carolina where goaltender Peter Kochetkov is done for the season. Now, they have Freddie Anderson, who is not yet done for the season, but stay tuned on that because he's forever hurt. They have a young goaltender in Bussy that they claimed from the Boston organization. But we also know that Carolina is hyper-aggressive, and we also know that Carolina is in a wide-open window here, Irf. What's your sense? Do Demko or Lankinen's got trade protection, so you'd need his approval. Do you think Carolina comes knocking on Demko or Lankinen? And should the Canucks entertain that?
Someone. Carolina's good. Carolina is good, and they're a goalie away from maybe finally getting over that hump and winning the Eastern Conference and going there. And I think right now when you look at it, in the Eastern Conference especially, it's anyone's game. And everyone thinks that they can go and do it. So if you're, the general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes, Tulsky, and his staff, you look at it and say, is this worth the risk? Is a Kevin Lankinen at 4.5 over the next 4 years, worth the risk of us, giving up draft capital to go and do this if we think we can win? Or is it a guy that has been nominated for a Vezina trophy? There's some question about his health. He's looked okay this season, in short spurts, but do we trust him enough to give up and then go take his extension on of $21 million or $25 million?
Yeah. So for me, with Carolina, I would be all over Demko, not Lankinen, because I think you need that quality. You haven't had that quality really in goal. Secondly, for me, if you're the Canucks, goaltender is the one position where I think you could make a move with one of these guys and still convince yourself you're going to retool it a little bit in a hybrid form. Because I think you're starting to believe in Tolopilo, and know the other guy is a pretty good goaltender as well. I also wonder, because I see Patrick Johnson writing in the province, that teams are still calling on Patterson, and we know that Carolina has been linked to him in the past. Is there the framework for a blockbuster here where Patterson and a goaltender head to Carolina? Do the Canucks have the stones to make a deal like that? Is that signaling too much of a rebuild, or can they pitch that to their ownership? No, we can be as competitive or more competitive after that deal, because I think that was one of the keys to the Minnesota deal as well. They were like, hey, we're getting 3 pieces here, including the biggest missing piece, that second line center. Now, Rossi hasn't looked like that just yet, but I think that was one of the things that helped get the Minnesota deal done, is they could make the case to themselves and to the owner that we could be better after this deal, even if we're losing the best player. We shall see. What we do know, the Canucks sent out a memo to all those general managers on November 24th saying they're willing to listen on pending UFAs, not all their vets. Since then, they have traded not a single UFA, but they have traded a vet in Quinn Hughes. That was 5 weeks ago. World Juniors, let's get to that, where Canucks prospects aren't playing all that much. Braden Coots he's not even playing center right now. He's playing on the wing. He's been in the bottom 6. He scored yesterday versus Denmark. I have to think that Coach Hunter and his staff have to look at deployment here. Canada squeaks by a minnow in Latvia, 2-1 in overtime. They struggled mightily against the Czechs in the opener. Now, it's a better Czechia team than maybe the last 20 years. But, boy, there were still moments in those games where you sat there and go, this is such a great collection of Canadian forwards. How come we're not getting more out of it? They got Finland tomorrow night, and then they're off to the medal round. Coots had a goal, 3 shots, was +1 across 9 minutes and 17 seconds of ice time. But that was against Denmark, Irf. Played 9 minutes against Czechia as well. Canucks fifth-rounder Wilson Bjork, he sat out Sweden's first 2 games while his brother Viggo, a top 2026 draft prospect, got some run and accolades. Wilson did play in Sweden's 8-1 win as the 13th forward against Germany. He had 1 shot on goal through 4 minutes and 35 seconds of ice time. Only the 5 shifts, not the tournament he had hoped for. Freudian slip there. And Canucks prospect Basil Sassanens, a 2024 seventh rounder, scores with the U.S. Scores against the U.S. for Switzerland. Now he's known as a defensive D-man. He's playing pro back in his native Switzerland after spending some time in the Quebec Maritime Junior League. And then I also want to shout out West Kelowna's Ethan McKenzie on the blue line for Canada. I suspect he finally gets drafted.
You think?
After getting passed over in the last 2 drafts. Like, I'm watching this kid and I'm going, how in the hell can 32 NHL teams through 7 rounds say, nah, this guy isn't worth a pick? He's looked amazing for them.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yeah.
You almost never see an undrafted, passed over twice kid make the Canadian team.
No, it's true. And just going back to the Canadian team, we talk so much with the Olympics coming up about when you hear players do interviews, I'm going to accept whatever role. I will do whatever on that team that helps, that needs to win that team. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I don't think like the World Juniors, the players know how to accept roles like that because because they are all so good. Braden Coots is eating with the Seattle Thunderbirds, absolutely destroying and playing so well and scoring at such a high level. You get to the World Juniors, you play 3rd and 4th line, and like you got to go up and grind it out. Like, it is a very different game, and it's harder for these players that are star players to adjust to that.
I think you're right. I think even from 15 years ago, that generation of player, these players have been more coddled. These players have been told how great they are, right? There's more coverage of, youth and junior players than ever before. They're so accustomed to being on the puck. And look, that's a good thing. We want skilled guys who are comfortable, if not great, on the puck. Like, this was something that Canada was thirsting for a quarter century ago as we were going through some of those Olympic disappointments in Nagano and Turin and some at the World Junior Championships as well, that we just weren't producing the skill guys like we used to. Well, we're now producing the skill guys, but I think you're right. I think the pendulum has swung in the other way where some of these guys just don't understand or don't know how to accept roles and aren't flourishing because they're not playing 20-plus minutes a night as forwards who are accustomed to shouldering the scoring load for their domestic clubs. All right, one other prospect note here. Gabriel Sherwood, winger selected with a 6th-round pick last year, has been traded in the Ontario Hockey League from Brampton to Kitchener for 8 draft picks and the rights to a player. You can't trade 1st-round picks anymore in the OHL, so they just load up 2nd, 3rd, 4th.
2028,
all the way
9th
down.
round pick or something.
He's got 15 goals and 25 points in 31 games this year. He turns 20 in training camp next year, so he may well be an Abbotsford Canucks player next year. And lastly, Irf, I don't know about you, but the Taylor Swift docuseries got some run at my house over the holidays. Is your gal a Swiftie?
No, it didn't get any run in the household. I also did not think that we would be talking about this today, but here we are.
Well,
I see why. Yes.
So if you're not familiar, Taylor Swift's Eras Tour came to an end here at BC Place with 3 shows last December. So one of the episodes, the opening shot, is the drone shot coming down on BC Place. There's the BC Lions banner and logo. There's another scene-setting shot where, lo and behold, there's the Quinn Hughes banner on Rogers Arena. So Canucks and Lions were Vancouver Sports was already getting a lot of run on the Taylor Swift docuseries. And I promise you, there's not a single hockey or football game this year that are going to get more eyeballs than the Taylor Swift docuseries. Mm-hmm. Then there was this. Elias Pettersson and his now wife, I guess then girlfriend, right? Because they got married over the summer. Caitlin Bird Pettersson. They appear in one of the shots at BC Place. There's Caitlin standing with her friend in the foreground dancing. There's Elias with his big smile. He's sitting down. Elias, you got to get up and move, buddy. And she joked about it on social, saying it gave them a giggle to see themselves on the screen at the Taylor Swift concert last year. And speaking of that Quinn Hughes banner, and shout out to our old boy Tanbeer on the case here. It's coming down.
It's over. OVAH. See ya.
There you go. It's coming down. Got to take down the banner of a superstar player. Best to do so over the holidays when people are distracted, right? But they didn't get it past Tanbeer. He was there on the viaduct. Okay. Time now for our menu. It's brought to you by Greta. A fantastic spot to catch all the games home and away. Pre-game, post-game, you are just steps from the arena and stadium. If you need a venue for a team building or a social event or a post-Christmas holiday party here, check out Greta, the fantastic street food menu and the arcade that will keep you entertained during the intermissions, halftime, and for hours before and after. 50 West Cordova. Go to gretabar.com for more info. Let the games begin. Jeff Marek is going to join us, then JPat. In advance of the game against the Flyers, we'll talk Canucks, we'll talk World Juniors. Later in the program, we'll talk NFL going into the final week of the NFL regular season with all sorts of playoff seeding at stake in Week 18. And a few notes about the Whitecaps, who, believe it or not, getting set for their new season in 2026. It's all coming up on the program here today. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. Irf, where are you going?
Give me the money on the board game. Give me Rick Tocchet and the Philadelphia Flyers in regulation at Rogers Arena tonight. That is plus 150. Not money line. You got to go in and hit regulation three-way at plus 115.
Okay, here's where I'm at. We've talked about Rick Tocchet being a quitter, right? And no Vancouver Canuck player is going to say it, but he quit on you guys. He thought the grass was greener in Philadelphia. He didn't believe in you. I would have to think that that gets the attention of some Canucks players, particularly in their house, Rogers Arena. Also, and there's not many areas where we can say the Canucks have been good this year, but Irf, they've got 15 of a possible 20 points in the second of back-to-backs this year. This has been the one spot where they've actually punched above the, that's 750 hockey right there, baby. So give me the Canucks to win this game straight up at plus 110. I get the overtime and shootout wins included with that. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Jeff Marek coming up next. Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center in this next segment, brought to you by the 2026 Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid in your Pacific Toyota dealers. This is a spirited, electrified ride built for enthusiasts, fifth-generation hybrid powertrain from the originators at Toyota. It's a superior battery, means you can go weeks without having to stop for gas, no charging anxiety. And when you do charge, it's just a regular plug-in at home overnight, 2-liter engine. It gets hearts pumping, spacious, loaded with safety features, a clean, navigable, and intuitive dash. Plus, this is a handsome car. Spectacular lines. It's got the profile of a sports car. Fold-down back seat. It fits all your golf clubs and your hockey gear, even if you're a goalie, and you can lease the 2026 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months, $3,300 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Here he is. We say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to Jeff Marek, the host of The Sheet here daily on the Nation Network. The poor fella was supposed to be in Minnesota, but planes ain't getting in and out of Toronto and Minnesota this week. How you doing, partner?
I've had better. Listen, no one wants to hear media complain about travel stories. Nobody wants to hear that. It's I know, like I understand it. It's been a tough couple of days, but as I like to say, I follow one motto when it comes to air travel, and it goes like this, and it always helps me calm down in these moments. And I've repeated this mantra to myself a lot over the last 48 hours. I would rather be down here wishing I was up there than up there wishing I was down here. That has gotten me through. That is brilliant. So I heard it years and years ago. That has got me through so many.
I was going to say
meltdowns at the end.
Is that original material, Jeff?
Listening. No. You know where I got that one? I got that one from Dennis Bayak.
Very good.
Who was doing a Leafs New Jersey game, and his flight was delayed, so it was a New Year's Eve game. And so he wasn't going to make it home to see his wife, Bev. And I said, it's a drag. You're stuck in New Jersey. You can't get out, and you can't spend New Year's with your wife. And he said, Jeff, I'd rather be down here wishing I was up there than up there wishing I was down here. And it's always stuck with me. So he was the aviation Zen master.
I spent a year traveling with Dennis Bayak, and king of the deadpan one-liners, Dennis. Dry.
You know what?
Oh my goodness, he was.
Can I give you a great one? Maybe you heard this one, but I totally bet on it. We were at a Maple Leafs. I think it was Leafs and Atlanta Thrashers. I don't know why I remember that game. And I said, Dennis, where are you from in Manitoba? And he said, I am from Winnipegosis, Manitoba. And I said, wow, I don't know much about Winnipegosis, Manitoba. What can you tell me? And he says, it is the birthplace of the toothbrush. And I said, what? Winnipegosis, birthplace of the toothbrush? And he said, yes, because if it were anywhere else, they'd call it the teeth brush. Dennis was
Attaboy,
the
Dennis.
best.
Okay, so since you aren't at the juniors, we'll start with the Canucks and we'll move to the juniors. I had visions of you with, young hockey players, 18 to 20-year-old hockey players skating in the background for this.
Watched them on TV.
so did we.
Braden Coots.
So did we. We're going to talk about Braden Coots. But since we last talked to you, the Vancouver Canucks have said they are going to retool a little bit in a hybrid form, or a hybrid retool, hybrid rebuild. If you can explain to me what that means, or your reaction to, of course, they had won 4 in a row after the Hughes trade, Jeff. So maybe that got them feeling frisky. What do you make of hybrid retool or rebuild?
Why is everybody so scared just to say rebuild? Now, I say that knowing that I don't think that managers are scared of it. I think that owners don't want to hear their managers say it. Because in an owner's mind, when you start to say we're rebuilding, that means don't bother coming. That means don't bother buying tickets. So in an owner's mind, that word is terrifying. But can we just come up with some new phrase? Because it is painful, and it was painful last week watching Patrick Allvin twist himself into pretzels to try to describe what it is exactly the Vancouver Canucks are going through. Like, I've always been of the mind that every team is a rebuilding team, right? Every team makes changes all throughout the season and in the off season. Glenn Staley would famously talk about, the Edmonton Oilers when they were winning Stanley Cups in the 80s, still needing to change the team by 15% to keep it fresh, to keep guys motivated, to keep guys hungry. Teams are always in a process of rebuilding, right? But I think we just need like a term that everyone's okay with, that no one will freak out about. Why don't we just call it renovation? We're going through some renovations. You know what? Maybe we're adding a new ensuite. Maybe we're doing something with the garage, or maybe it's something more significant. But we're just going through a renovation here. Would that be a word that would calm everybody down?
I think so.
Or would we just mock the manager who used it? I had a feeling that at some point it was gonna come up on this show, and I better have a snappy term for it, because listening to Allvin last week was was tough. So that's what I've come up with. Now we're going through a renovation. What do you think?
I'm not entirely sure the fan base trusts the contractor or the builder in this renovation here in Vancouver. I'll tell you that much.
It's a sketchy firm.
Yeah. Look,
their reviews on Yelp aren't all that good,
no,
Jeff.
they're not. But Jeff, I kind of wanted to shift a little bit towards just the Canucks unrestricted free agents, and obviously, you know, the big one is Kiefer Sherwood, 16 goals on the year. Everyone knows what he is as a player. My question to you is, general managers now know what the player is going to be. Kiefer Sherwood is probably viewed as a third-line guy that has the opportunity to play up, but on a Colorado Avalanche, on a Dallas Stars team, that third or fourth line role. So how hesitant do you think some teams are willing to give up that coveted first-round pick that the Canucks so desperately seem to want for him?
If that team, the acquiring team, can win the Stanley Cup, they won't be shy about it at all. I mean, how many times have we talked about, you know, top 6 washes as you get deeper and deeper into the playoffs, and it's your third line that wins you the Stanley Cup, right? How much did we talk about, you know, Lundell and Marchand and Lesterainen last year? How much did we talk about Barclay Goodrow's line not too long ago at Tampa? I'm even going back to 2007, the Sammy Paulson line with Rob Niedermeyer and Travis Mullen. Like the history is there. Of, you know, the Stars are the Stars, and that's great, but when it gets the Bonino line with the Pittsburgh Penguins, when it gets time to winning Stanley Cups, how often do we come right back and talk about how it was the third line that won them the Stanley Cup, right? The Stars are the Stars, but man, when it got tough, if you have a third line that is better than the other team's third line, you're deeper than the other team, and it's getting tougher. That's where you're winning cups. So I think more so than ever now, and it's further pronounced, as I mentioned, with the Florida Panthers the last couple of seasons. Right now, I don't think it's a pejorative to say, oh, he's only a third liner. Oh, he's a third line guy. That's where you win cups, man. That's where you win Stanley Cups. So if I'm a manager, and I think I can win the Stanley Cup. If I'm Colorado, and I'm looking at Kiefer Sherwood, and I'm looking at acquiring cost of maybe a first-round pick, I say to myself, can it get me the Stanley Cup? Because that first-round pick ain't getting me the Stanley Cup this year.
Nope. And, of course, the Vancouver Canucks and the Hughes deal made a trade for 4 pieces, 3 of them one-time first-round picks, and then, of course, this upcoming first-round pick. And that has brought us to Dallas, the Dallas Stars, and the name Mavrik Bourque, Jeff. And somebody told me last year that Jim Nill really wanted to give Mavrik Bourque some run to see, do we have a player here or not for the postseason? Pete DeBoer wasn't quite as fussy about playing him. He's playing this year, although half his time on the wing. You tell me, is he a first-round equivalent, or is he faded a little too much from his first-round status, almost 24 years old now?
You know, he switched agents last summer. He's now with Wasserman, and normally when you do that, that means you expect something big to happen. And he's at the end of his contract, and I think he looked at, you know, where he would be slotting this year with the Dallas Stars and what kind of season he would have. Make no mistake about it, Mavrik Bourque's an excellent hockey player. And if I'm going through a rebuild in a hybrid mode, no, hang on, I got to write this down. I got to put a Post-it note up on my laptop here to get this correct. I'm looking for young players right now because I don't want this to be too lengthy a process. I would look at Mavrik Bourque over taking a first-round pick from the Dallas Stars all day long. The one guy that the Dallas Stars really didn't want to let go of was Logan Stankoven. That was the one that they really, really fought over, like almost to the point where it was almost personal. That was the one there where Jim Nill had to finally relent. It's like, look, we can get Mikko Rantanen. But, you know, they're running out of pieces to trade here. And this is another go-for-it year, make no mistake about it, for the Dallas Stars. And unless you want to do something like enormous with someone like Jason Robertson, then Mavrik Bourque is probably the piece that you're looking at here. And if I was the Vancouver Canucks, I'd be looking at that piece if I'm doing anything with the Dallas Stars. But I don't know that Vancouver and Dallas are going to be making many significant.
Well, there's that. They have made deals. Jason Dickinson, primary amongst them. They have made deals. Derek Roy once upon a time, but yes, their owners aren't the best bedfellows. San Jose has also come up now as a potential Sherwood destination. How does that strike you?
That's a little surprising. Right now, San Jose seems to be playing, at least in my mind, playing with some house money. I think we're all looking at San Jose and going like, wow, that's kind of cool. They're, you know, fighting off. It's them and the Utah Mammoth for that final wild card spot. That was a big win, by the way, for them last night. Celebrini was awesome again. So was Askarov. That's a big win against the Ducks. I look at San Jose and I say to myself, normally managers will say, we need to reward you for an excellent season. You know, this team is owed a trade come trade deadline. Remember how upset Dylan Larkin was that Steve Yzerman didn't help the Detroit Red Wings last year? Like, hey man, we got around there. Like, you didn't help us out. You didn't push it over the finish line. But if I'm the San Jose Sharks, if I'm Mike Greer, I'm saying to myself, do not try to hot shot this. Don't this is still San Jose. The calendar hasn't flipped yet. You know, they're fighting for a playoff spot right now, and that's great, but the season hasn't got tiresome yet. Wait till some of the dog days kick in. For a very young San Jose Sharks team that doesn't know what it feels like to be competitive for 82 games. Like, go up and down that roster. How many of those players can you look at and say, yeah, this guy knows what the tough 82 games is like, know what a real chase and what a real race is to the playoffs. So if I'm Mike Greer, I'm just like, this is still just part of a process. This is found money right now. I'm really happy for these guys. I'm really happy for the team. Macklin Celebrini has quickly distinguished himself as one of the best players in the league, but let's not lose sight of the big picture here. Don't try to hot shot this thing. But, man, Kiefer Sherwood helps any team. I just don't know that he would be maximized if he was on the San Jose Sharks, as opposed to, I don't know, like a team like I mentioned throughout Colorado or Dallas or New Jersey or Carolina or someone like that.
When you look at goaltending in the NHL, it's always interesting and it's always a hot button topic, especially in Carolina right now. But you've got two goalies here. Excuse me. You've got two goalies here. One in Thatcher Demko. Yep. Obviously, contract doesn't kick in until next year. And Kevin Lankinen, who is the best shootout goalie ever. He is the best shootout. I know you don't win shootouts in the postseason, but he's the only reason the team got to that point last season. What do you make of the goaltending situation here in Vancouver, and how much interest might there be out there?
Wait and drive up the price. The first thing that Thatcher Demko's got to demonstrate to everybody, though, at the same time, is health, right? Show that you can stay in games. Show that you can put long stretches together here. But this is, you know, one of the hottest commodities you can have. And I always look at teams that make the classic mistake of, instead of leaning into a strength, they run away for it and try to use it to fill other holes, right? And then you just kind of turn into every other team. Like, I think one of the issues with the Eastern Conference right now, the way it's packed, is because like every team is essentially the same. Like, there are sort of minor degrees of difference between all of them, but this idea that, hey, we've got two great goaltenders, we got to let go of one of them to fill a hole somewhere else, as opposed to leaning into the fact that we got two great goaltenders here. You know, make it really, really worth your while, because that is one area that teams have chased for years and years and years. Some have found it, some have backed into it, some continue to struggle. I mean, the Philadelphia Flyers story with goaltenders is sort of laughable at this point. That's the one spot they've always sort of fallen down around. But if I'm Vancouver, I'm not actively doing anything. People want to come to me and talk about one of our goaltenders. I'm happy to have that conversation, but you got to really make it worth your while for Rutherford and Alvin to pick up the phone.
Yeah. Well, do you think Carolina's got to do something now with Kochetkov out for the year?
No, and listen, back the bus up, right? I mean, I know you don't want to sort of throw everything, all your hopes at someone who was, an AHL standout. But then again, so was Kochetkov with Chicago for a while too, before he actualized in Carolina. And I know that the hospital bracelet has not always been the friend of Freddie Anderson. And he's worn that one like an albatross for a lot of his career. But right now, if I'm the Carolina Hurricanes, I don't know that I go out there and spend any bullets looking for a goalie ASAP. Now, that'll probably change with one phone call this afternoon, and everyone will go, Marek, what the hell are you talking about? But right now, I mean, I think by now we have a sense of what Eric Tulsky's all about. One, he's not shy about making a big move. And two, he's not going to be rushed into any decisions. Okay, you're down Kochetkov. He's gone for the season. Okay, let's see how we do before we rush into a decision. Because if Bussy's the ultimate answer, let's not spend any assets. Let's spend them somewhere else.
Yeah, and it looks like a smart waiver claim from them on Bussy.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on. We saw Igor Chinakhov traded from Columbus.
Yep.
To Pittsburgh for second and third round picks. had to take on some bad money there. Mason Marchment got second and fourth round picks. Phil Deneau got a second round pick, which, at his height would have been a steal, but with no goals and on $5.5 million for next year is a bit of a risk for the Montreal Canadiens. Boy, sure looks like a seller's market, Jeff.
It really is a seller's market, and specifically in the East, where only in the NHL would an entire conference be 500. But here we are in late December. Everybody in the Eastern Conference is over 500, and it's complicating things right now. Like I always respected what Doug Armstrong used to do, and what his motto was. If we're not going to win the Stanley Cup, we're open for business, and we'll let guys go. This is kind of the way the Hunters run their junior show in London as well. It's either we can win the OHL championship or we're selling. And we've seen, we saw Doug Armstrong, a couple of Stastny was one of them. Dave Backus would have been another. Hey, we're kind of in the fight. We're kind of close. We're kind of around it. But really, are we really there? Like, he's not afraid to ask himself a really hard question. And the organization's not shy about asking a really hard question and then reacting to the real answer. I think a lot of teams can lie themselves into believing there's something they're not. I think one of the things, and you guys know this, you've been at this long enough, like teams really tend to overvalue what they have. It's really unique to hockey too, because and you guys would tell me whether I'm off base on this when you follow other sports more than I do. It seems like more than any other sport, hockey really overvalues what they have, and that makes trading really, really difficult. Right? Like,
agreed.
It's real tough. Like, whenever I hear a GM say, "Oh, it's so hard to make a trade," it's hard to make a trade because you overvalue what you have.
Yeah,
and you're just trying to hit a home run.
I think that's the case. I think NHL GMs lack the gumption of general managers in other sports. Other sports GMs now tend to come from analytical backgrounds and whatnot, so they're able to rationalize it a little bit and are less afraid of the outside politics. But it's also the 3-point games, too, right? Like where you stay in the playoff or can convince yourself that you're in a playoff hunt because you continue to compile points, even if you're not winning all of those games. Thus, everybody is 500 or better in the East.
Well, exactly. Jeff, let's get to the World Juniors here now.
Where he should be.
Where hopefully you will be. Gavin McKenna.
6:45 Eastern tonight. 6:45 tonight.
6:45 Eastern.
We'll see.
If I get on a plane.
We hope. Gavin
Stop
McKenna,
Chicago. Yes.
The noise surrounding this young man has now risen to a point where, he's fueled by his doubters. This dude is projected or was projected or going to be projected to be the number 1 overall pick. Hat trick last night. The last goal was an absolute beauty by him. When you look at him and kind of the noise surrounding him, what's your take initially when you hear things like that?
Okay, so first of all, Gavin McKenna is an elite level playmaker, an elite level skater. I think he's made a very challenging decision in his draft year. I mean, he just could have stayed in Medicine Hat and torn up the league. And we wouldn't be having these conversations about, is Gavin McKenna still going to be first overall, right? Like, let's consider the environment that he put himself in here deliberately. Now, I know there's a financial incentive to it as well, but really, like, how much more did Gavin McKenna, I mean, it already took his team to the Memorial Cup last year as well. His line mates had split as well. One to Michigan State and the other to BU. So you can make the argument that even though it's a difficult thing to do for a player to put himself in a completely different environment, the different style of game in his draft year, I do think it's commendable, right? Like, he's not tearing up Division I, but maybe we realistically shouldn't have looked at Gavin McKenna and said, like, yeah, he's going to come in here and put up like 85 points this season because he's playing against a lot tougher competition. There would be a lot of players, Irf, that would have taken the easy way out and just stayed in the comforts of Medicine Hat and known that you could like smash some records and no one would be having this conversation, but he didn't. So for one, I applaud someone challenging himself in a year as sensitive as his draft year. For me, Gavin McKenna is still number 1. To me, the story is how much have other players caught up. Ivar Stenberg looks fantastic. His brother plays with the St. Louis Blues, for those that don't know. Keaton Verhoff is interesting as well. For rightly or wrongly, he's always going to be compared anywhere around the top of a draft to Matthew Schaefer, and he is not Matthew Schaefer. They're much different defensemen. He's not as mobile. He's not as he's not as fast, not the skater that Matthew Schaefer is. But I think the story is, who's closed in, and who that we didn't expect inside the top 5 will we see inside the top 5? And one of those names, and I'll hang myself out on this one. I still think that Caleb Malhotra is going top 5. At the end of the day, I think that what Caleb Malhotra brings to a team on the ice, off the ice as well, and he is ripping. And he's on a traveling all-star team with the Bulldogs of the OHL. Mm-hmm. But Caleb Malhotra is going to make a team very, very happy. And it's going to be really tempting if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you're in Malhotra territory in the top 5, not to take Caleb Malhotra. But he's in there too, right? Chase Reed, who's a defenseman with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, playing for Team USA. He's another one that we need to consider too. I still think McKenna's the class of this draft so far.
I was going to ask.
Hasn't been the best possible year, but you look at the whole body of work.
I was going to ask, because the Canucks are third from the bottom right now. Of course, if you are the worst team in the league, then you're guaranteed a top 3 pick. Like, how much would you sweat the distinction between McKenna, Stenberg, Verhoff?
To me, the toss-up for number 1, and I still slightly lean McKenna. It's McKenna and Ivar Stenberg.
Yeah,
Stenberg's special, and what and don't forget too, like, he's playing in the SCL, like he's playing with men, and we're the comparisons to the Sedins, by way of points, the comparisons to Naslund, like, it is dizzying territory. Now, he's not the biggest guy, 5'11", 180, maybe 185. But he's a spectacular player.
He plays bigger than that,
really
Jeff. Just watching him in this tournament, like, he seeks out, initiates, and survives contact. He is very comfortable on the puck and in tight quarters and playing the physical game. You texted me gleefully last night. Coots scored. I was like, yay, because my God, we haven't seen a whole lot of him. What have you made of the Canucks' top prospect and Coach Hunter's deployment of those forwards, Jeff?
I like it. If we have time, I want to make a point about Brady Martin here. But to Braden Coots, I look at this year with Braden Coots, the World Juniors, as getting in some playing time. And I like that Hunter's playing in with Cole Reshny, and Jetlichenko, really, really responsible. Had a lot of time in Philadelphia with the Flyers already. That guy's close to being a full-time pro hockey player, as we all know. He's getting some playing time because next year there's 3 guys for Canada that I look at and say, here's your leadership group. Braden Coots is one of them, Cole Reshny's the other, and Caleb Desnoyers. Now, I'm glad that Caleb Desnoyers has found himself more up the lineup, but is not the extra forward anymore. Really responsible player. Not the flashiest guy, 200-foot player. Like, in this era where every top guy is just skill, goals, offense. Here's Caleb Desnoyers, this like old school 200-foot guy. As I'm told by people who have coached him, like, players love him. All the guys love him. The quiet leader. Cole Reshny, as was described to me, is the opposite. He's like the high-intensity guy that everyone likes to be around, works hard every single shift, and isn't afraid to call teammates out on the bench, like has that type of intensity to him. And then Braden Coots is right in between. He's a little bit Desnoyers, and he's a little bit Cole Reshny as well. That is your leadership group next year for Team Canada at the World Juniors. I look at Braden Coots and whatever, same as Cole Reshny, whatever they do this year at this tournament is bonus, because those 2 guys are going to sing next year at the World Juniors in Edmonton and Red Deer. That's what it is for those 2. But I like that they have. How do we phrase it, man? Right shot Reshny or left
right shot Reshny?
Right shot Reshny or left shot Coots?
We prefer left shot Coots here. Yeah, Cole Reshny is a left shot Coots as opposed to Braden Coots as a right shot Reshny.
Right shot Reshny. Right shot Reshny.
You mentioned the gap has closed much on the picks being closer to Gavin McKenna. Now, I want to ask you about the gap being closed in the world coming into this tournament and to Canada and USA.
Yeah, like we used to kill
Canada.
minnows.
I'm getting it. Why can't Canada kill teams, Jeff? Why can't they? I mean, other than against the Danes, but the Slovaks, the Czechs, like these teams
everybody gives us a game. Now Latvia has their number, for heaven's sake.
That Czech program is incredible.
You know what's funny, at the beginning of the tournament, I had one person who's been around this tournament forever say, don't sleep on Czechia. If you're looking for a dark horse to win, quote unquote, watch Czechia. That's your team, Marek. Let's have a conversation as Canadians here. So as Canadians, for decades, like my entire life, we've always had this idea that hockey's the best sport in the world. Why don't other countries get it the way we do? Well, you know what? Other countries are starting to get it now. The United States has got it for a while. Sweden's got it for a while. Finland, Czechia, other teams have, like, other countries have gotten it. Okay, like that's where hockey is right now, and now we don't like it. We spent so long saying, "What's wrong with these other countries? Why don't they love hockey the way we do? Why don't they make hockey players the way we do?" And now all of a sudden, the rest of the world catches up, and we go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!"
It's not that we
want you to love it, but we still want to club you.
It's that it makes us nervous. I mean, we have lost here too recently.
Yes, it does.
You know, like we used to dominate this tournament. And I will say this. It's better for the tournament. And number two, it's better for entertainment value. Like, I sat down yesterday and I watched Czechia, Finland, which was terrific in a 1-goal game, and Slovakia, USA, which was outstanding as well. I love game. This is my favorite hockey to watch all year. I find it the most compelling, the most entertaining hockey all season long. The World Juniors. I used to say that just about the knockout round and the medal round, but that is now seeping into the preliminary round. This is fun, good hockey, and I'm so pleased to see the Czechs and the Slovaks come back a little bit. It's been a long time since '89 when, as a unified team, of course, they were a hockey power, but Velvet Revolution, lack of money for many, many years in those programs, and now they're back. And Latvia's pluckiness, and especially their great fans, Irf, you've been around them. They make the tournament more fun. And more drunken.
I want to pause on Latvia quickly. I've always maintained, no offense, Canadian hockey fans, no offense, American hockey fans. There are no better hockey fans in the world than Latvians. They win, they cheer. They lose, they cheer too. They don't care. They don't care. They'll sing and they'll drink and they'll have fun, and they're just there as a celebration that our team is in, you know, is mixing with all these elite teams around the world. You see it at the World Championships. You see it at the U20 here, the World Junior Hockey Championships as well. I'm really happy for Latvia that the quality on the ice has caught up to the support off of it. And I know that, like, the way that I describe it, you're watching that Canada-Latvia game the other day, like, and I was there last year in Ottawa watching, you know, the Latvians beat Canada. Playing Latvia is, you know, the feeling when you're wearing a belt that's too tight and you've just eaten a big meal? Like, that's how it feels playing against Latvia. Like, it's a really uncomfortable feeling playing Latvia. It's tough, and you gotta scrap for everything. They're not the most offensively gifted team. We all know that, but playing them is just flat out miserable, and they never stop competing. Amongst all the other teams that have sort of risen up here, I'm happiest for Latvia, and they got sick jerseys too. They got they look great, and I'm happy for them.
And they got a defenseman who's going to go in the first round, if not top 10, and they got a centerman who's I think going to be amongst the top 50, top 2 rounds. Okay, we've arrived at the Easter egg. Easter egg, we do a little trivia with Jeff at the end. Irfaan Gaffar is your teammate here.
You are my lifeline.
Sorry. So your choices here is either World Junior Trivia or pop culture music trivia.
I'll take WJC all
I knew you would.
On this one.
All right.
All right.
There are 2 players tied as the all-time leading scorers for the United States at the World Juniors. One is an active NHL player. One is a former Vancouver Canucks first-round draft pick. Who leads the United States in all-time scoring at the World Juniors with 27 career points?
I think I know the Canuck.
Okay.
Is it Cutter Gauthier?
No, like Jordan Schrader.
Very good, Irfaan Gaffar. Jordan Schrader
Wow.
has 27 points in his World Junior career to tie this player. And it's funny you bring up Cutter Gauthier because there are ties that bind with this player and Cutter Gauthier.
There are
Same two NHL teams for this guy as Cutter Gauthier. Active player.
So Philadelphia, Anaheim.
We're gonna see him tonight.
It's not.
He was
Trevor
pretty good.
Zegras.
It was Trevor Zegras.
Wow,
Yeah,
it is Trevor
he was
Zegras.
pretty good.
I was going to say Troy Terry.
Very well done.
That's embarrassing. It took me that long to get. Is it weird that I already think of like Trevor Zegras as a longtime Philadelphia Flyer? How quickly he's become like ingrained that he's a Flyer. And what happened? You know what? Hey, Paul McCartney. What was that band you were in before Wings? Like what was that? What was that band's name again? Like I've just like completely forgotten the Anaheim days already. Yeah,
I've
good
told
one.
this story before. Super Bowl 39, Jacksonville, Florida. Paul McCartney is the halftime act. He does a press conference the late Friday afternoon before Super Sunday. So a lot of people, skipped out on the press. That was, busy deadline days in newspapers, right? When you got the big Saturday edition, you're writing like 57 stories. And a young lady goes up to the public microphone, introduces herself as an intern at ESPN, and says, "Excuse me, Sir Paul, who will be on stage with you, or is it just you solo?" And Sir Paul goes, "Oh, silly me, how dare I forget? They'll rib me for it, but joining me on stage will be my band." And the young lady goes, "I'm sorry, your band?" And he says, "Oh, it's very confusing. The group of musicians who play with me, their band name is my band." And she's still confused. And then she says into the mic completely earnestly, "Is that your original band, Sir Paul?" To which the room goes silent for a second and then realizes she doesn't know the Beatles.
No.
18 doesn't know the Beatles. Hey.
I always catch myself and try to remember that when I was that age, my parents would have mentioned a band or a musician from their era, I probably would have had the same reaction.
But you would have known the freaking Beatles, Jeff.
I would have known the Beatles.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the
person. I'm trying to give this person a soft landing here, Maddie.
Yeah. Here's the music trivia that Mike Rogerson better get in on.
Oh. Okay.
That you skipped
He's an
over.
award winner.
In his iconic 1989 song, "We Didn't Start the Fire," Billy Joel name checks 59 people from history between 1949 and 1989. You know the song, like Paul, he goes through all the names.
It's not really a song as much as it is a list.
It is a list,
he's just singing
basically
a list,
set to
like-
music. So 59 individuals are mentioned here, all of them tied to events between 1949 and 1989. With the passing of Bridget Bardot on the weekend, there are only 3 living members name checked on the song. Give me one of them.
Mike.
Living.
Oh, wow! From that monster list.
2 of them are musicians. One of them is well known for a dance that your parents or your grandparents might have done. One of them is amongst the greatest American songwriters of the 20th century.
Is he a left-hand shot or a right-hand shot?
Come on,
I have no idea,
Rogerson.
man.
I expected more from you.
The
What
only
do you
name
got?
I remember
That's got to
is
be
Doris
Mike.
Day.
Mike's the lifeline. Who is it?
Doris Day is the only person I
Yeah,
can remember
not
from
alive.
that song.
Not alive.
Oh,
Bob
no longer
Dylan,
sharing oxygen.
Bob Dylan,
Oh yeah.
Chubby
Well,
Checker, and Subway vigilante Bernie Getz, which if you're from New York City, you would know the name. But if you're
Wow! Holy smokes!
It's on me. That's on
Yeah.
me.
Anyways,
That's on Mike for sure.
Jeff, we hope you get to
Not a song,
the
it's a
juniors.
list.
Happy New Year, buddy. Look forward to speaking to you from Minnesota next week, right? Right?
Crossing our fingers we'll be in Minnesota. Otherwise, just going to get my little act here in the Marek compound basement. You know,
you just you stay safe up there. Better to stay safe up there than down here. Like that.
Rather be down here wishing I was up there than up there wishing I was down here. Gets you. It's your Zen moment at the airport. Thanks, guys.
Sekeres and Price from the Historic Wall Center. This next segment brought to you by our friends at Pizza Pizza. And you can get a large 2-topping pizza with your choice of side, 2 cans of pop for only $19.99 at Pizza Pizza. You choose from popcorn chicken, 4 chicken tenders, creamy garlic loaded tots with dip, or garlic cheese fingers. This is only $19.99 at Pizza Pizza. As we welcome in the host of Rink Wide Vancouver, our Canucks reporter, and say, belated Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Jeff Patterson. How you doing?
I'm good, Matt. Hi, Irf.
Hi, Jeff.
Something tells me you guys have seen each other over the holidays.
And we will.
How were the holidays, Jeff? Please tell me the Christmas tree is down and packed with the rest of the Christmas decorations on Boxing Day as per usual.
We pushed it to the 27th, but Christmas no longer exists in the house. No, we had a few activities on Boxing Day, so hey, 'tis the season until it's not the season anymore. And in the Patterson household, we like the build up to Christmas, but boy, when Christmas comes, it's it's all business.
Nobody does the teardown like JPat and SPat there at Casa Patterson in Lynn Valley. Okay, let's get into all of this, Jeff. First and foremost, what kind of reception are you expecting for Rick Tocchet tonight as he returns as head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers to Rogers Arena?
I think a pretty positive one. I think for the most part in the building, ticket holders, the people that have paid their money, they're a polite crew generally. We've seen at times things have turned a little owly, but for the most part, I just don't think fans really pay that much attention to coaches, even ones with the connection and a history here. They're focused on what's going on the ice. They're watching the Stars. That's those. I don't think there's a single person in town that's bought a ticket to see Rick Tocchet tonight, with all due respect to talk. So I think it's a story. He'll get his first TV timeout video tribute. It'll be a smattering of applause. There might be a few boos from the cheap seats, but for the most part, it'll come and go. And, that'll be it, I think, for this storyline. They played them a week ago. That kind of eased some of the storylines into the discussion already. And again, it's a holiday crowd. I think for the most part, it'll be a welcome reception.
Yeah. So you talked to him yesterday. The Flyers practiced here yesterday. We played some clips earlier in the program, but I get the sense he is sensitive to the word quit. I also get the sense that he's trying to fight to see, I told you so after the Quinn Hughes trade. What's your sense on Rick Tocchet and his return here to Vancouver in terms of the events that have happened since his departure and whether or not that vindicates his decision?
Yeah, I mean, he's a talker, and so he stood in there, and I think he knew that the questions were going to come, obviously, about his time here and the departure. I did get a laugh at the one response about when he was asked about the Canucks being in, well, they were dead last when he was asked the question. They've jumped all the way to 30th with the win over Seattle, but still just the state of the hockey club, basically. And when he talked about, being buddies with Adam Foote and the injuries and whatever, at the very end when he said, they've got a plan, and I think they're going to stick to it. I think. He's like the rest of us. He doesn't know. So, it's not his problem anymore. He had the foresight to sort of see what was coming down the pipe, and he saw the pastures were greener elsewhere in a place that he was loved and adored and familiar with, and it made perfect sense for him to wind up in Philadelphia, and he's doing a nice job there with the Flyers. So he'll always have an attachment to the Vancouver Canucks, but I do kind of feel like he's turned the page at the very least and moved on for a team that's pushing to make the playoffs in his first year there behind the bench. And, of course, he spent a fair bit of time reminiscing about the one playoff appearance for the Canucks under his tutelage. And did he say 50,000? He seemed to think that there were 50,000 people on Scott Road celebrating I think he misremembers. 50,000 is a large number. I don't think it ever got to those sorts of totals.
No, I definitely
Maybe
don't.
5,000. Maybe they made the noise of 50,000.
Yeah.
Maybe coach heard him from his abode. But
He's getting bad intel because he wasn't out there, obviously. So
no,
whoever's reporting back to him.
Right. I don't think he was reporting on the spot.
No, look, if someone gave me 25 sheets and had the writing on the wall that the captain, one franchise player, wasn't going to be there next season, I'd probably taken the out too. But Jeff, looking into tonight's game, we obviously saw Jake DeBrusk didn't play last night. It's got to be a sense of just one and done. Full reset from the coach to the player. Now you hope you get something out of the player here.
Yeah, and while Adam Foote didn't commit to that on Sunday after practice, I think with a veteran, I am expecting that Jake DeBrusk is going to get plugged right back in. Although we did see Nils Höglander came out for the Boston game and then remained out as they went to Philadelphia and then again against San Jose. So we have seen a healthy scratch turn into multiple consecutive healthy scratches, but it's a little different with a veteran guy that led your team in goals last season. So I think the message has been sent, and now you look for a response. And so what that looks like from Jake DeBrusk, I think your guess is as good as mine, because when you look at Jake DeBrusk's season in totality, he scored 8 power play goals in and around the net. He's going to the net. He's showing a willingness to get to the blue paint and battle on the power play. And yet at 5-on-5, it's just an absolute desert. He has the one 5-on-5 goal, and we're already past Christmas here, and we're turning the page to 2026. So it's baffling. Jake didn't have much of an explanation for it, but he knows it's an issue. And so I've got all the time in the world for Jake DeBrusk. Like the guy, like the player last season, but it has been a struggle for him, and they need him to score some goals. It can't all be on the backs of Linus Karlsson. I don't think I would have ever thought I would utter that phrase, but that's kind of where we are. So, yeah, a couple of questions then. What does DeBrusk do in the way of a response, and who comes out of the lineup to make room for him?
Well, how close are we to Brock Boeser scratching, Jeff? It has been an awful struggle for number 6 this season, particularly of late.
Yeah, and I know Ray on the broadcast last night mentioned that first period, I thought he did show some signs of life, reunited with Elias Pettersson, but we know that combination hasn't exactly produced a ton really since the Lotto line days, and they're missing a key component of the Lotto line. So to expect all of a sudden that Boeser and Pettersson are going to find some sort of magic, that feels a little misguided, just the way that really both of those players are going. So I think once the shot is across the bow to a veteran, I think all veterans have to be on notice. And if it happens to Brock Boeser, Brock can't sit there and say, I'm shocked, I didn't see this coming. He just watched a guy that's basically in the same sort of slump as he is, a guy that is paid in the same ballpark, and a guy who's expected to do what Brock Boeser is supposed to do. So I could easily see it be a 1-for-1 swap. I also wonder if it's just easier to go back to Nils Höglander and sit him down after playing 9 minutes of fairly ineffective hockey last night in Seattle. So we'll have to wait until later in the day. But no, I mean, it's come to that for Brock, and it's unfortunate. And as I've said, and I said it on Rinkwide too, with all these struggling wingers, context matters here, and you do have to give them a little leeway with the idea that these are not independent play drivers. They're not guys that go and get the puck and skate at the length of the ice and do all the heavy lifting. They need help from the guy in the middle, and they have played with David Kampf. They've played with Lucas Reichel. They have, at times, Nils Åman has had a couple of games up here in the National Hockey League. So it hasn't exactly been a who's who at the center ice position, and I think the struggles of the wingers just underscores just how weak the Canucks have been down the middle. We all know it. I know the organization knows it, but it's sort of coming home to roost now with all these veteran wingers that have gone forever without putting a puck in the net.
I also think the Jake DeBrusk scratch, the healthy scratch, was the easy one. He went for the easy one first. He didn't go for the Brock or the other players that maybe could have been a healthy scratch. Jake DeBrusk not going to say much. He owned up. He was accountable, and obviously, we respect him and commend him for that. He could have been very easy to not show up and say, I'm out, I'm not playing, I'm not talking, but good for him. Going to, you mentioned Linus Karlsson, because you and I have so much fun talking about this player, and we watched him pretty closely during that Abbotsford run on the way to the Calder Cup Championship. What have you made in his game development? From the beginning of the season, we thought he was going to be a guy that grabbed a position, but it's taken some time, and now we're finally seeing it here.
Right, and I think what we're seeing with Linus Karlsson is he's taken his game from the walls, where he's always had success, and Rick Tocchet talked about him being one of those sticky guys that would get in and win his battles, and now where he did this last year in the American Hockey League, he's getting to the net. The puck is finding him, and he's starting to score the goals he scored in that run to the Calder Cup. Now it's happening in the National Hockey League. He's up to 9 goals on the season. He's in a 5-way tie for second on the team, behind only Kiefer Sherwood, and good for him. And I think, guys, now the question is, how quickly do the Canucks look at giving him a little bit of term here? Max Sasson just got a deal. Linus Karlsson right now is a Group 6 UFA, pending UFA. Now that's going to change into RFA status because he's going to reach the games played threshold. He's not coming out of the Canucks lineup anytime soon. So I think he needs 18 more games before his Group 6 status becomes a pending RFA. But regardless, he needs a contract. He's playing on a league minimum. Like, they have a chance here to give him a little bit of term, but really a team-friendly deal. Like, could you get him at, 3 by $1 million kind of thing, like, or even 2 years at $1 million per? I have to think that the Canucks would, like, the meter's going up with this guy. All of a sudden, he's become one of your primary goal scorers. He's doing everything the coaches want, and he's doing it in minimal ice time still. Like, I do wonder if there's going to be a bump, a reward at some point for him to get an opportunity. He gets power play time, so that'll help increase his ice time. They didn't have a lot of power play time last night in Seattle, just the 2 power plays, but I think it was 2 minutes and 10 seconds total of power play time. Whatever the case, we haven't really heard a lot, but I do wonder if that's a conversation behind the scenes as they're looking to move players out. Could Linus Karlsson benefit from opportunities if, in fact, some spaces in the lineup open up? Yep. And also, should they be looking at getting him signed to a contract now before he becomes a 15 or a 20-goal scorer?
Well, and also, lest he get hurt, not reach that 18-game threshold and then become UFA, right? So yep. I think you've got a lot of pressure points here. And, Jeff, we were talking about it before the show. It's now been November 24th, 25th, they sent that memo out to the rest of the general managers saying all their pending UFAs are available, but they're not quite ready on Quinn Hughes. Well, they've traded Quinn Hughes, and they haven't moved any of the pending UFAs. There's another roster freeze coming for the Four Nations. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of that, but there's another roster freeze coming here in February. What do you think? You have to make the Kiefer Sherwood move in the next 5 weeks before that next roster freeze comes?
Yeah, I mean, the holiday roster freeze is over now. We saw Columbus and Pittsburgh hook up on a trade, so maybe that gets the wheels moving around the National Hockey League. But I've said for a while now, it would be the most Canuck thing imaginable if Kiefer Sherwood was to get injured, and that scuttled any kind of trade. And I don't want to even consider that notion, and I'm sure he doesn't either. But one way to get around that is to be proactive here. And like, teams know what Kiefer Sherwood is. I thought he had a Kiefer Sherwood night in Seattle last night. He had I think it was 5 shots on goal and 5 hits, penalty killing time as well. The goal scoring has dried up a little, although he did have the hat trick on the island just before Christmas. But I've said all along, like, the acquiring teams aren't looking for Kiefer Sherwood to be their leading goal scorer. If he can add some scoring, lower in their lineup, absolute bonus. But you want the sandpaper, you want the guy that's tough as nails, you want the guy that's finishing every check and can add some penalty killing utility. So I would think that the teams that are interested in Kiefer Sherwood have made that known to the Vancouver Canucks. Now, maybe the Canucks aren't getting the price that they want, and maybe that's part of the delay here. But I would caution them that if you wait too long, every game he plays, he runs the risk of some sort of injury that could really interfere with the ultimate plans here. And also, you've got healthy bodies now. You've got young players. Jim Rutherford's on the record with the rebuild, even if Patrick Allvin wants to call it something else. So, open up some space. Again, it's not just Kiefer Sherwood. Like, I would start to look at trying to peddle a couple of these players so that you can open up spots in the lineup that these guys can step in and play, so you can figure out exactly what you've got with some of the new players you've acquired, some of the other players. At some point, you'd think Jonathan Lecker-Mackey's going to get a promotion from Abbotsford, but you got to find room for them. And all of a sudden, it hasn't been this way all season, but all of a sudden, they've got a surplus of healthy bodies around the big league team here. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised, quite frankly, that they haven't pulled the trigger on a Kiefer Sherwood trade.
Final game of 2025 here for the Vancouver Canucks. Jeff, I ask you, what does 2026 bring, and how does the home ice record change for this hockey club as we turn into a new year?
It is wild that, and I think we all know this, but it was pointed out again that the JT Miller trade, forget the Quinn Hughes, the JT Miller trade went down in calendar year 2025. It feels like about 6 years ago to me. And so, yeah, a lot of water has flown under the bridge through these past 12 months. And I would hope for the organization that we could just get through a year with a little less noise. I don't know if that's possible, but that would be a nice change. As for the home ice record, like, they are due for some sort of bounce back, a little bit of normalization. You can't lose them all at home, and yet they've one win in their last 9. It's been a disastrous home ice season. And really, when you look at the road record in comparison, if they were anywhere close to the road record, they would be above the playoff bar, but they're not. And they are way down there in the standings. So, it's not enough just to say you got to be better on home ice. Part of the reason the record is what it is at home is because they're not a very good team, and they're inconsistent, and those flaws continue to persist. But it is wild that here we are getting ready for the final game at home in 2025, 4 home ice wins, and one of them was in overtime against Edmonton. 3 regulation home ice wins in front of the paying customers. They deserve better. They deserve so much more. So I say this, I don't think it can get any worse in 2026 at home, but maybe they'll prove me wrong. So I do hope for the paying customers, though, that they start to get a little bit more bang for their buck when they make the effort to show up at the Rod.
The good news, Jens, is they got 8 wins on home ice after the JT Miller trade last season, and that is only in 2.5 months, right? So they've got a full 12 home ice wins since the Miller trade 11 months ago tomorrow. I'm loving the Liam Öhgren story, because you just see the young man blossoming before your eyes. You see the confidence teeming, and this may very well be a case, Jeff, where a new situation and a fresh start unlocked a huge talent. Your thoughts on Öhgren?
Yeah, and I watch him and I hear you say that, and I kind of think Nils Höglander might wonder, hey, is a change of scenery what I need? And maybe he'll get that opportunity. Who knows? But as far as Öhgren goes, like, he's looking like the player that we heard so much about in his draft year. I think he's putting all of those skills on display. The speed and the size are undeniable, but I love the hockey sense to get the jump on Ryan Lindgren on the inside last night off the faceoff. It's a quick little pass, but he puts the puck in the right spot for Karlsson to convert. And of course, that came 3 seconds after the heavyweight tilt between Connor Garland and Jared McCann. So they were feeding off the fists of fury that led to the tying goal there. And then, what a card for the coaching staff to have in his back pocket in the shootouts, knowing that this guy finds ways. And, isn't it funny? Like, how many times do we see players make 1,000 moves? I think they outthink themselves on shootouts and quite often end up looking foolish on their attempts. And these are the best players in the world. And then you get Liam Öhgren last night, who just comes in, pretty simple, gets Joey Daccord to open up and 5-hole. Like, it looks so easy, and you're thinking, how come guys can't do that? And yet, as we know, nobody's able to score against Kevin Lankinen, and that was a huge part of the story last night. But for Liam Öhgren, yeah, and he didn't play a ton, but he started the game elevated into without DeBrusk. He was one of the guys that benefited. He was basically slotted as the second line left winger. And so I think that was a reward for what they've seen. It's only been 7 games, but once you got 2 goals, 2 assists, and 2 shootout winners in those 7 games, this guy has found a way to leave his mark and make a really good first impression.
And I think the one thing for me, when you look at it, we talk so much, and a lot of the heavy lifting has been on the top 6 guys, the Patersons, the Garlands, and those guys. But if you're looking for silver linings and nice stories, and you and I discuss this all the time, it's the contributions in the limited ice time from those bottom 6 guys. And Öhgren now fits that mold. But you have the Aatu Ratus, who's 23 years old and now one of the best faceoff guys in the National Hockey League. You've got Karlsson, who's on a heater. And you've got these other guys that are kind of molding into that bottom 6 where there was so much pressure and so much talk about the top. But it's that bottom 6 forward group that's been carrying this team for the last little while.
Yeah, and I mean, these guys are thought to be the future of this organization. Yeah. We don't know ultimately how deep the cuts are going to come, but Liam Öhgren right now looking like anything but the throw-in in the Quinn Hughes deal. In fact, Marco Rossi is the guy that's been a little slow on the uptake, and he'll get there, I think, eventually. But there hasn't been a huge return there. Zeev Buham's looked all right and had that great debut in New Jersey. But Liam Öhgren right now seems to be the star of the show. So you're right. Whether it's Ratu winning faceoffs, whether it's Max Sasson scoring a bunch of goals in limited time, and Linus Karlsson we talked about, those guys have not let the Vancouver Canucks down. The issues for this hockey club have been higher in the lineup and in the front office, but the depth guys have certainly held their own, and you can see that most of those guys, like, you could build a case that they will be part of what the Vancouver Canucks ultimately are trying to put together whenever they're able to turn this thing in the right direction.
Lastly, from me, Jeff, but Kevin Lankinen, spectacular in the shootout once again. His conventional numbers are starting to creep a little bit back into acceptable level. The Carolina Hurricanes may well have a goaltending situation now. We talked about it in the first segment with Kochetkov out for the season. There's long been speculation about Edmonton, whether they were going to try to do better than Tristan Jarry. What's your sense about what the Canucks are thinking on these two goaltenders, and if either of them, and I understand that Lankinen has trade protection, Thatcher does not until his new extension kicks in the summer. What's your sense on what the organization is thinking with regards to the goaltenders and whether or not they're going to keep both of them beyond this deadline?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it would make perfect sense if they were able to peddle one of them and move a contract and both term and money off the books, especially it is an area that looks like one of the strengths of the Canucks. They've got players that are on the rise at that position. And so I think if you could find a way to move one, and Carolina is interesting to me. They cannot afford to flush another really solid season, and they are constructed well. They've got lots of nice pieces there. In an Eastern Conference where there isn't, that big dog, like easily this could be their year for them to get out of the Eastern Conference. They can't allow an injury to one goaltender to sink them entirely. And Freddie Anderson has just been unable to stay healthy, and I don't think you can count on him. So that one to me is a story worth monitoring. I think it's one that's going to have some legs. I don't know that they're going to make a move right now, but if they move forward and they realize that goaltending is an issue, is that a team that's just going to have to bite the bullet and say, yeah, we need to go out there and find an upgrade to that position? And if so, the Vancouver Canucks absolutely should have their hands up and, have both of these guys on some sort of brochure that they can send along to Eric Tulsky and the Carolina Hurricanes. As for Lankinen, I just feel good for him. We know that there was a personal issue there. It sounds like it has, I don't want to say fully resolved, but it's at a point now where he feels comfortable being back around this team, being able to put in the work necessary to get his game back to a level where he's able to perform like he did in Boston. He faced 43 shots and he stopped all 7 in the shootout there. He delivered a win in his last start. This is the first time all season that he's won back-to-back games. So it's taken a while for him to get to that point. I think a healthy Lankinen and one that's on his game, it alleviates sort of the fear of having to lean on Thatcher Demko every night out. And so if they have options here, if they can get both of these guys playing, then, we'll see. I have to say that the Canucks themselves as a team, again, gave up 39 shots last night in Seattle. They've given up 39.5 on average over the last 4 games. Like, they're not playing particularly well as a team, but it shows the importance of goaltending, right? And you're not going to win more than you lose if you're giving up 40 shots on a nightly basis. That's just not, the math isn't going to add up there, but you can see the difference that star level goaltenders can make. And so even through this 4-game stretch where they're absolutely getting outworked and outshot, they're 2-2, and Lankinen has both of those wins. So in my mind, it doesn't make a ton of sense to move forward with $13.5 million committed to the goaltending position. But we know the circumstances that led to Lankinen getting the extension when he did last year. Canucks committed to him. They've given him trade protection. I think he likes Vancouver. I think he feels comfortable here. And so I don't know how eager he would be, but again, if there was a situation where he knew that he was going to go and play and be a number one guy and play on a good team that had a chance to do some things in the playoffs, maybe that changes the conversation somewhat if you have to have that discussion with him and his agent. So let's see where it goes. But I just don't think you could rule out Carolina, given the season that they're having and the opportunity that's there. I just don't see them moving forward with sort of a patchwork goaltending situation. So absolutely, I could see an upgrade in the works.
Yeah, and they got some time here before the deadline, and we'll see how that works out for them. But yes, to me, we've said it going back to a few weeks ago after the Quinn Hughes trade, if you're committed to a rebuild, Thatcher Demko and Connor Garland are two of the canaries in the mine shaft, right? They don't have trade protection until their extensions kick in this summer. If you are, in fact, committed to a rebuild, look for one of those guys to get moved. Otherwise, we're looking at a retool it a little bit in terms of a hybrid form. Good thing Christmas is packed up at the Patterson house because he'll be busy. You got rink wide tonight after the game against the Flyers. Then you're in with me tomorrow in place of Blake. Looking forward to that, Jeff. Thanks for this.
All right, boys. Thanks.
Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center and the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Lee. Big game downtown. Make it more than just a night. Make it a memory. Stay steps away from the action here at the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center with an exclusive Sekeres and Price rate. Call 604-331-1000. Mention the show Some Blackout Date Supply, subject to availability. Well, final weekend of the NFL regular season.
Oh, baby!
I don't know about you. I watched a lot of NFL football over the last week, including that triple header on Christmas Day. And you telling me Nathan Rourke can't play in this league? Holy cow.
There's a lot of bad quarterbacking going on in the NFL. Yes.
I saw Max Brosmer play at the University of Minnesota, and he looked like an average Big Ten quarterback, and then he's starting NFL games. So, okay, granted, they're down to their third-string quarterback, but it makes no sense to me. Well, if you're an NFL head coach or a general manager, that you take a look at Nathan Rourke, what he's doing up here, how he looked in that training camp with Jacksonville, and not say to yourself, you know what, if we get down to our third-string quarterback, I want to play that guy over some rookie who's wholly overmatched. I mean, Kansas City, whoever they played at quarterback, we're talking less than 100 yards passing.
Brosmer should have never stepped on an NFL field again after that one play in the Seahawks game.
That's right.
When he threw the pick.
Like, he has no business calling himself a professional quarterback. And there he is in a standalone Christmas Day game. And they won the freaking game.
What's the problem,
That's the insane part. Anyways, I think Nathan's done trying for the NFL, but holy cow. You watch that if you're Nathan Rourke, I can only imagine going, I'm better than this guy, I'm better than this guy.
Yeah.
And that may extend to this weekend as well, except for Saturday, where we have a doubleheader teaming with playoff implications. Seattle, San Francisco for the NFC West crown and the number one seed in that first round bye in the NFC playoffs. The loser will be the number 5 seed and travel to the NFC South. That's not actually the worst draw, at least in the first round. And speaking of, prior to that Seahawks 49ers game, you get Carolina Tampa for the NFC South title, sort of.
Yeah.
We'll explain that in a minute. So let's run it down here. So here's what's at stake. 49ers, Seahawks, both the same stakes here, the number 1 seed with a win. The Panthers win the NFC South with a victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or an Atlanta Falcons win versus New Orleans. And you're saying, hold up, wait a second. Tampa at Carolina isn't simply for the NFC South. Winner goes on. No. Because if Atlanta wins at home versus New Orleans, we've got a 3-way tiebreaker at 8-9, Irf.
Again, a lot of bad football.
8-9. And you're a division champ. And you get a home playoff game. They've got to fix the seeding.
Yep.
If you want to gift every division winner, it's only 4 teams, for God's sake. If you want to gift every division winner a playoff spot, so be it. They should not get the home playoff game on top of that at 8-9. You're going to be hosting an 11-12 win team.
I 100% agree with you.
It's insane.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of bad divisions over the last few years in football. Obviously, the NFC South is
including the one year the Seahawks
yeah,
won it.
Exactly.
Won a playoff game, right?
Yep.
It was the Beastquake year,
yep.
if I'm not mistaken. So Tampa needs a win, and they need an Atlanta loss to the Saints, who are playing better football these days. Give them that. The Bears, who blow the Sunday Nighter against the 49ers. I have been a 40-year Chicago Bears fan, and I watched Sunday Night Football mouth agape in a state of astonishment. Like, we've never been a shootout team.
Blow for blow with the big dogs.
We don't play shootouts.
Yeah.
40-some points to win? That's not Chicago Bear football. I'm sitting there and going, I can't believe how easy this looks. And I can't believe how easy it looks for them as well, as Brock Purdy carved them all up. So the Bears get the 2 seed with a win at home to Detroit, or with an Eagles loss to the Washington Commanders. The Eagles need a win over those Commanders and a Chicago loss. That's the NFC for you. Now the AFC. Pretty simple. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Sunday Night Football. The winner is the AFC North champion. The loser is out of the postseason.
Win and you're in, baby.
The Broncos get the number 1 seed with a win against the LA Chargers, or with the Patriots loss versus the Miami Dolphins. Patriots get the 1 seed with a win and a Broncos loss. Wide receiver Stephon Diggs under investigation today for an alleged strangulation and assault incident earlier this month in Massachusetts. The wide receivers room is already pretty thin for the Patriots, as they've had to put Mac Hollins on IR, season-ending IR, with an abdominal issue. They have played one of the weakest schedules in NFL history to get into this position. New England, a lot of people are thinking they will fail, but not our boy Balraj, longtime Patriots fan and daily S&P viewer, listener. Best of luck to you, Balraj.
Well, and the quarterback's going to win the MVP
You think
after
so?
that
You
mess
think he's
that
MVP
Stafford had yet last night. I think that he's probably the shoe, and I think the betting odds are heavily favored in his direction. Also, Herbert not playing for the Chargers in that game as well.
Yeah, and you will see some of these teams that don't have much to gain resting some guys this week. Jacksonville. They win the division title with a victory versus Tennessee or a Houston loss versus Indianapolis. Jacksonville can still be the number 1 seed here if they win and both Denver and New England lose. Texans need a win and a versus Indianapolis and a Jaguars loss to win the division.
Of the 6 teams you talked about, Matt, I'm scared of the Texans, and I'm scared as hell of the Jaguars.
Are you?
In the AFC. I don't know if I might not trust the Patriots, Broncos, and Steelers. I don't think the Steelers are going to win without DK.
Can you believe that? Like, you're out of commission, suspended for striking a fan in these 2 massive games that your team has.
And if the Ravens just give the ball to Derrick Henry again, they might easily win
Holy
that game.
cow. I was cheering for him so hard on Saturday night, in part because they were playing the Packers. And I'm a Bears fan, but I love old guys, and I love old guys who can still do it.
Oh, my God.
And he moves into 10th place all-time on the NFL's all-time rushing list. And I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of guys who crack the top 10 from this point going forward, because there's just not a lot of Derrick Henrys anymore. The way he moves still at 240 pounds at 30, whatever year's age.
He's just a monster.
He's just awesome. Yeah. Just love that big downhill back. I find that very entertaining football. You mentioned Houston's won 8 in a row. Jacksonville's won 7 in a row. Like, they're the 2 best teams in the AFC on the second half of the season. So good on them. And yeah, I mean, everybody likes the Rams, but they spit the bit last night.
Yeah.
Against Atlanta, falling behind early. Seahawks, 49ers have won 6 in a row. Both of them have not lost since they lost to the LA Rams earlier this year. And lastly, on the NFL, in Rappaport, NFL Network reporting, it is doubtful that 74-year-old Pete Carroll will be back as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders in 2026. The Raiders clinch the first overall pick in the draft with a loss to Kansas City. If they win, the New York Giants could still select first overall. I suspect this is the last game for one of the great all-time coaching careers in American football. He is one of 3 men to win both a Super Bowl and a college national championship alongside Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer. He is, as we learned over his decade and a half in Seattle, just marvelous company, forever enthusiastic. I'm a huge Pete Carroll fan personally.
Yep.
But we were talking, Irf. It's time.
It's been time for a little bit. Yeah.
And there were a lot of us, and I'll put myself in this boat going, boy, if you're moving on a coach like Pete Carroll, you better do better. Seattle, well, John Schneider was right. The Seahawks have done better there.
New coach and Fernando Mendoza making his way to Las Vegas,
the
probably.
Heisman Trophy winner, quarterback at Indiana University. He's got a big one here on Thursday.
Yep.
Against Alabama in the Rose Bowl in one of 4 college football quarterfinals. Vancouver Whitecaps FC. Their players report back to Vancouver on January 13th. That's 2 weeks from today. And you're saying, wait a second, aren't we just 2-3 weeks away from MLS Cup? Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are. 26 days.
It's the world's longest season.
It is unbelievable. So they're going to get back on the 13th, and from there they are going to head to España for a 4th consecutive year, a training camp at the Marbella Football Center in Spain alongside 56 other clubs. So you think they'll find a game or two, or
hopefully
preseason?
Yeah, no kidding.
To get things going. Axel Schuster with an interview just before the Christmas break. We know that Ali Ahmed and Sebastian Berhalter, their fine midfielders, are both going into the final years of their contracts. There has been transfer buzz around both players. Axel saying, look, they have to move somebody out and one of the higher cap hits to create the cap space to be able to extend one of these players. I see our friend Glass City has speculated. I think it's got to be Sebastian Schonlau, the German who came over late, got hurt, barely played. Of course, Ralph Priso emerged and held down that center back spot where the Caps were very thin down the stretch. So we'll see if something can be done with Schonlau there to be able to keep one of Ahmed or Berhalter. Of course, both are candidates for their national teams as well going into a World Cup year.
And both are deservedly going to get raises.
Oh, absolutely.
Sebastian Berhalter made $385,000 last year.
And was worth every single penny.
Yeah.
When he started playing earlier in the year, I was like, oh, God, okay. Like, I considered him like deep reserve. I considered him like, oh, this is a guy who plays in the Canadian Championship tournament. His dad used to coach the U.S. national team. And then like week by week, game by game, you're like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then by the end of the season, it was just like, no, that's just one of the better players on this team. And in MLS, he was an all-star.
He is captain material here down the road for the Whitecaps.
Yes, he is. I love it.
And I'll even go and say this further down the road for the U.S. national team, the U.S. men's national team. He means so much to that team already.
Well, that was the other thing. Like he started getting these call-ups internationally, and Blake's like, okay, well, but that's the long list. That's not like the World Cup team. That's the
He'll be on the
go
World
play
Cup team,
a friendly against somebody team. And then all he did was shine there as well. Mm-hmm. So, no, one of several, a half dozen or so tremendous individual stories of improvement with Vancouver Whitecaps FC players in 2025. Jesper Sorensen and his staff just did a magnificent job, and full credit to some of these guys who, needless to say, put in the work to make the best of themselves and took us on an incredible ride.
I also think it's still an absolute joke that Jesper Sorensen didn't win the MLS Coach of the Year.
But I know.
And they couldn't sweep the whole board. I get it.
Exactly. I think that was it. Yeah. I think there was a lot of voters who went there and went, okay, I'm voting for, Takaoka. I'm voting for Blackman as Defender of the Year. I voted all these
of the year.
Exactly. And plus all these Whitecaps, they led the league in All-Stars, right? I think I'm just going to spread some of the love and give my manager Coach of the Year vote elsewhere. A couple situations came up over the holidays as well with Canadian international players. Wing Jacob Schaffelberg traded from Nashville to LAFC. Now, he upgrades team to say the least, But a lot of Canadian men's national observers are worried about his playing time there. You've got the great Korean star Sonny. You've got Bouanga, who's maybe the best goal scorer in MLS, already in the fold. Remember, Jay Nelson wanted to trade from the Whitecaps to increase his playing time in advance of the World Cup at the same position as well, or if at wing. So we'll see if Schaffelberg can get enough run there on what is a pretty star-studded LAFC team to keep his stock in play for the Canadian men's national team. And then this from the insider of all insiders, Fabrizio Romano.
Oh, yes.
And we're not quite at here we go status with Burnaby's Nico Segura. That's his line when a deal is done.
Yeah.
Here we go. And we talk about it all the time. Like Fabrizio Romano sees the Adam Schefters and the Darren Dreggers of the world and their followers and laughs. That's what's an insider in another sport. Check out how many are following Fabrizio. Wolves of Premiership are interested in the Canadian international fullback Nico Segura of Burnaby. He plays right now in Croatia. Romano reporting Wolves are one of a few top 5 league clubs that are interested in Segura in the January window ahead of the World Cup. So it looks like the young man from Burnaby has looked very good for the Canadian men's national team. He's vied for man of the match a couple of times here of late. It looks like he is going to be on the move. The good news, son, is a Premiership team is interested in you. The bad news is it's Wolves.
Yeah, they stink. They
have 2 draws and 16 losses in 18 games this year. They're a full 10 points behind the next worst team in the Premiership. They are almost certainly headed for relegation.
Yeah, and it's so interesting when you look at young players trying to make those moves and where they're going to go. They obviously, you look at the Premier League, you're like, wow, this is an opportunity. However, would you rather go to
playing at Old Trafford? You're playing at all these hallowed grounds,
100%.
right?
But your development in losing every single game might not help you. Then you're better off going to a German team and playing for the 3rd or 4th place team.
But
there.
let me ask you this: if they do go down, they will probably be a very good championship side, right?
Yeah.
So then you get more winning, but you're not playing the same level of competition.
Yeah. This kid's 22 years old. Like he's got the
very
whole life
bright
ahead.
future. Yeah. Very bright future. He has been another great news story in terms of Canadian soccer development in 2025. Poll question results from last week. We asked you, is Gavin McKenna worth failing for? 73% said yes, Irf. Paul says McKenna looks pretty average at the World Juniors. Not a franchise player. Might end up being a decent NHL player, but not a franchise saver.
I love how people pretty average at the World Juniors. I mean,
he's playing against guys a year and 2 years older, but fair enough. Suleiman, and some of us went and saw the Neil Diamond movie over the course of the holidays. Absolutely yes, because they ain't a playoff team this year. Just tank and get a good draft pick. I think a lot of people were in line with Suleiman. Tim says even if he wasn't, Stenberg would be. Yeah, we saw a lot of Ivar Stenberg love in the comments. Derek says any top 5 would look good. So yeah, Canucks fans all about failing, even if it's not for a singular, consensus, unanimous number 1 pick like we've seen in the past, certainly like we saw with Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini. And then another poll from last week, when you hear Patrick Alvin say, retool it a little bit with a hybrid form, what is your reaction? 64% said want to puke. 19% said don't understand. 11% said dislike. 6% said like. Kenny, Alvin's joking around. He can't be real, right? It did take on a little bit of an SNL sketch tone, Irf, as he was stammering his way through that answer.
Well, I mean, my answer is a hybrid of don't understand and dislike.
Yeah, a lot of people were that somewhere in between that. James says, I like it. Just do something progressive to get us winning. To get us a winning team free of whining, pouty, squawky players and coaches. Okay.
I think the thing that I talked to a couple of people after that interview when he went and said what he had said, and the kind of consensus is this is just a guy that's talking that knows that they don't really have a plan right now and aren't entirely exactly sure what they want to do. You just lost your franchise captain. You don't really know what you have in these players yet. And there's just so much other stuff going on that you just really you can't sell the rebuild because, maybe ownership might not let it happen or say that word. So you have to say this retool
Well,
or
but Jimmy said
thing.
the word.
Yeah.
Jimmy has said the word, and maybe that's the distinction between Jimmy and Patrick Alvin, because I'm of the opinion that Jim is now going to say and do what Jim wants to say and do.
Oh, 100%.
And if Francesco wants to move on him, so be it.
100%.
You wear that then, Francesco. Whereas Alvin I don't think he has the same job security and clout. The other thing I think, Irf, is I wonder if he says it that way if it's not for 4 wins in a row. That's coming off 4 wins in a row. You wonder, okay, is management and ownership now so excited and feel like we can retool this on the fly, get back in the playoff hunt this season? They wind up losing that game and, of course, the next one against the Sharks Saturday at Rogers Arena. James Hughes says, I think he means be bad this year, draft high, hope to be competitive next year, but pretend you weren't when you still suck. Thought that was actually pretty good analysis, Hugh. And then C says, this team had better know that they can't do this. The fans will revolt. If that first-round pick goes out the door for Jordan Kyrou, we talked about Kyrou earlier.
No, there's no.
My
They can't.
goodness.
The guy's got 5 years left at north of $8 million. He's 28 years old. There's no way. There's no way that they can do that. I can't see it happening.
I do not have an error or an omission from the programs last week. So with that, we will bid you adieu. Thank you for connecting with the program, spending some time with us here. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Free of charge, costs you nothing. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, we will be back here tomorrow at noon Pacific time. And please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Thank you for filling in today, my man. You have a
100%.
good show
Thank
on
you,
Rink
sir.
Wide tonight.
Absolutely.
Irf Gaffar, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Keep it local.